Hello, I have a question for you. If I was to say to you that I observed the world spinning by riding a merry-go-round, would that make sense to you? Or would it be maybe, would I be able to maybe state that more clearly than that? That the world was spinning because I was on a merry-go-round? Wouldn't it be clearer for me to say I went on a merry-go-round that was spinning and it appeared that the world was spinning because I was on a spinning merry-go-round? What would make more sense? Okay, I have another question, and I want you to think about this question while we watch kind of a funny video about science, and then I'll come back and we'll see if you guys have thought about the answer, what you think is right. Okay. Would I be correct or would I be in error if I was to tell you that I observe the Earth rotating when I look up at the sky and see the stars rotating? What's wrong with that statement I'm making? Okay, and let's watch this video and tell me what's wrong in the chat if you can. Tell me what's wrong with the statement. I'll repeat it right now. I observe the Earth rotating every night when I look up at the sky and see it rotating. Okay, here we go.
Hello all, and welcome to another episode of F'd Up World TV. I'm your host, Simon Dan.
And in the sun, in the shiny part, it's 150 degrees. And in the shade, it's minus 120 degrees.
In the shade in space, it's like minus 250 degrees. But the part of you that's in the sun, it's plus 250 degrees at least.
That is real science.
It's a bottomless pit.
The world is flat all the time.
What does the ISS smell like?
Stinky and stinky.
They're like brimstone, like a witch has just been there.
Oh, you can smell a little roast beef.
We first docked with the shuttle. There was a noticeable smell, but you get accustomed to it very quickly. So I can't tell anything anymore.
You know, there was some I don't know how to describe it, but some feeling that it was real air that was coming in. And on the hatch, I think we told to each other, hey, can you smell the
stinky and
roast beef
in space? What you smell in space in the cabin is generally each other. When we landed on the shuttle, the people that would open up the hatch would get a whiff of this and be like,
I smell a little
stinky and
roast beef.
This was a challenge given to me by peeing upside down.
We don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology, and it's a painful process to build it back again.
There is a magic speed.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Let's take a peek at the process.
It looks kind of flat.
NASA's Rob Simon made this, so some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be. The clouds are sort of too see-through, so I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but...
Let's take a peek at the process.
And what you're seeing here is a mirage.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
No, now I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt. Maybe we did.
No. Naturally.
I don't know the distance to the Van Allen radiation belt.
Naturally.
And
we used to.
If we did, it wasn't a problem.
Naturally. Just as it passes over the Indian Ocean, we lose communication.
We destroyed that technology.
No.
Naturally.
We'll pass through the Van Allen belts.
Maybe we did.
An area of dangerous communication. radiation.
See things that we don't know.
Naturally, radiation like this could harm the guidance systems, onboard computers, or other electronics on Orion.
Flash of light.
The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore.
Naturally, we have to pass through this danger zone twice.
No.
Once up and once back.
Space is not necessary.
But Orion has protection.
And it looked like it was on the moon. But
Shielding will be put to the test as the vehicle cuts through the waves of radiation.
I'm not sure.
Sensors aboard will record radiation levels for scientists to study. We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
It's a painful process.
Learn about Flat Earth by subscribing to Effed Up World on YouTube.
The Earth is not curved, and that's that. So would that be a delusional statement that I make? I'll repeat the statement. I observed the Earth rotate, because here's how it came up. I was watching MC Toon's channel, and in the chat over there, let me give you a little eyeball what the chat looks like when I go over there and say something simple like, none of you ever observed the Earth rotating. Nobody ever observed it rotating. Nobody. Here's like, this is the kind of stuff that, this is a chat from, this is like from a month or two ago or whatever. But the point is, here's the statement. I observe the Earth rotating when I look up at the stars and see them rotating. Is that a delusional statement? And we'll look at the word delusional, because I'd have to argue that it's a very delusional statement. Like, it defines the word delusional. Welcome, Rad Coffee House, Sheltering Sky, Awakening and Aware Soldier, and Phuket World. You guys are awesome. So yeah, they come down on you in the chat, but see that you got to have some compassion for these people, because the way I'm looking at it, I've been able to see this truth that is rejected in this world. When I don't really care if it's rejected or not, it's truth. And here's just a simple way to understand what I mean by truth. Here's a statement that's true, okay? I mean, there's a lot of people that would still want to argue with this statement, even though they know it's true. They have first-hand evidence that it's true. Here's the statement. I observe the Earth only... Whoops, I bumped my mic there. I observe the Earth only stationary. And then they call me a liar, because they say, well, you wouldn't be able to tell if it was the Earth rotating or the sky rotating. It would look the same. And I just have to... That's pseudoscience. That's like not even pseudo... Like that's just ridiculous, okay? Let me explain. The Earth that we live on, and I'm talking about the real one, okay? Most of us are in a house or a building, and that house has a foundation, and that foundation is set in the dirt or on the bedrock or wherever the foundation is, that it's a solid, non-moving foundation, because when you go to work and you come back, your house is still sitting there. Okay, this is very basic observation. And what delusional means, I thought I kept that open. Let me bring you over to my desktop. Let's just look up the word delusional and see what it says, okay? Whoops. Might have to go here. Oh, there we go. Delusional. Okay, here's what this dictionary was. This definitions from Oxford Languages. Okay. Delusional. Characterized by or holding idiosyncratic beliefs or impressions that are contradicted by reality or rational argument, typically as a symptom of mental disorder. Now, I'm not saying all these people have a mental disorder. I'm saying that they're believing a lie. They're deceived. And I can clearly point out to you that the ground that your house is built on, that I was talking about a second ago, that ground, if you actually, like, I'm talking the real ground, the dirt, like if you were to go get a shovel and break a hole in the floor right beneath you, that ground is never moving. unless there's an earthquake or some kind of landslide, okay? And everybody alive should agree with me, because that's not even, they say in MC Tunes chat, they say that's a conclusion that you've reached. I reach a different conclusion. And I'm like, nope, that's not a conclusion. That's an observation. And it's also a fact, because you're observing it and experiencing it this very second. I am pointing out to you right now that the earth, which when we say that, we're talking about the part that our feet touch, the part beneath us. If we were to point down, that's the part that's the earth. So this is very basic and very simple. That part, the part that your shoes make contact with on the bottom of your shoes, the part that your feet would leave imprints in, and I can't even think of the word, tracks, your footprints, I'm sorry, footprints, okay, that part is not in motion, and that's a fact. Now, in addition to that, for the credit of the person that I'm like calling delusional right now, to their credit, if I was on a sphere that was constantly rotating, they could have a point. They have no observation, though. They actually go against their observation to have this belief that they have. But they could say that you might really not feel that if the revolution took a whole 24 hours. You probably wouldn't really be able to feel that, okay? I agree with that. But to infer that you're on a sphere that's spinning when you are observing the opposite of that, that is not science. Do you get what I'm saying? Phuket Word says, good point. The globe is a fabricated conclusion based on assumptions about the sun. Exactly. It is totally based on the sun, because everything, that's where gravity, I mean, that's what all that comes from. Everything is, now here's something interesting that I've learned. Okay, where did we learn all this kind of stuff about the solar system? We learned it in space, or, I mean, a lot of it is in the last 50 years or whatever, that it appears to have become such a obvious thing that the whole world believes it and ridicule people that actually are interested in finding the truth, looking at the truth. Rad Coffeehouse says, like kissing the ground when you get off a plane if afraid of flying. Yes. I made a video about Kent Hovind was, he's like a guy that he doesn't like the flat earth, but at his Dinosaur Adventureland, he made a ride for the kids, and I can't remember exactly what he called it. It was something super silly, something or other, Swingosaurus or something like that. And what it was it had like 3 different kinds of motion. You'd sit in this chair, and they would swing you around in a circle, and the chair also would bounce up and down or whatever. And he said, and he's like, I designed it and we built it, but I'm never going to ride it. And so the kids that get on it, they get all dizzy or whatever. And Kent said, so when they get off the ride, they're all dizzy and it feels like the world's spinning. And so we have this tree that's right next to the ride, and I tell him to hug the tree because the tree's not moving. But then he rips on flat earth because he thinks the earth's rotating. When in reality, he tells the kid to hug the tree because the tree ain't moving. See, the whole world feels like it's spinning when you're dizzy, right? But so that's a good point. Hello, DM. Good to see you. And Cliff Santos. And Awakening Soldier. I'm going to guess that that's 2 accounts. That's my guess. Or you just changed your tag. Okay, I just saw that. Okay, so delusional is basically when you believe something that is contradicted by the reality that you're in. Okay? I'm trying to think of examples. It's really hard to think of examples because nothing is quite like this. I mean, here's the statement that I'm hoping that here's a delusional statement. I observe the rotation of the earth when I look up to the sky and actually see the stars rotating. So what am I saying there? That's a delusional statement. I'm telling you two things that are contradictory and conflict with each other. Okay? I'm telling you that I observe the Earth rotating, and I'm telling you that I'm doing that. I'm not looking down when I'm doing that. I'm looking up when I'm doing that. I'm not even looking at the Earth. It could be anything. I couldn't tell because my eyes were pointed the opposite way, and I was looking at the sky, and it was rotating. So that means that now let me play something here, a video. There was what was this? He was well, he'll tell us. I can't remember his whatever his. He's an astrophysicist and a professor at some university, and I got to ask him a question, and he didn't really. I think it made him think a little for a second, but then he inferred that, well, we already know the Earth's rotating, so that's how we know it's rotating. Okay, you'll get what I'm saying here. Now this is on MC Toon's channel, and he's a nice guy. He was astrophysics and astronomy at some university. I can't remember which one. So I'm not going to play the whole video. I'm just going to I'm going to talk about what there's a sense of delusion being put across this. Like what I'm saying is, wake up to it, my friends. Wake up to this. I'm not pointing out something that's not legitimate. I'm pointing out something very legitimate.
I'm an assistant professor at the University of Toronto in the Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics. I do a lot of work studying different kinds of stars and exoplanets, and never actually thought about how flat earthers deal with stars. So I'm kind of curious to learn something about that tonight.
Well, I'm sure we'll cover a bit of their silliness. I got some audience questions here. We've got Effed Up World, who is our token flat earther. None others have shown up here that I've seen. He says, now he asked a question, I asked him to rephrase, so I'll ask both versions of it. He says, ask the good doctor what he thinks about inferences opposing observations. And then stationary Earth is his observation. And then I asked to clarify, he said, we observe still ground everywhere where people have ever been on Earth. Any kind of rotation or motion is an inference, but it opposes the observation.
Okay, I wanted to just explain, in case you didn't get that, what my question was, and then we'll let him reply. Okay, my question was that in reality, I'm in a room, and I'm living in the state of Minnesota, and I make an observation daily, 24/7, every second of the day. I mean, I might not be paying attention to it, but I am making an observation and experiencing a very clear thing about the reality that I'm in, and that is that I'm observing the ground being still. Okay, that's my observation that I'm making, and it's an inference. I'm inferring. What that means is, let's look up that word, or I'll look it up. I don't want to lose our place here. I'm just gonna look it up and read it. An inference is something that you like. Okay, here's what it says in the dictionary: a conclusion reached on the basis of evidence and reasoning. So that would be a conclusion, but and then it says the process of inferring something. So let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna go to Merriam-Webster. Something that is inferred, especially a conclusion or opinion that is formed because of known facts or evidence. Okay. Known facts or evidence. The act or process of inferring, such as the act of passing from one proposition, statement, or judgment considering as true to another whose truth is believed to follow from that of the former. Okay, so if I was going to infer that the Earth was rotating, I could do that, and I could say that there's probably plenty of ways that I could infer that the Earth was rotating. But the problem here is that if we're going to do science, if you infer something, you have to have evidence of it, and you have to have it has to be. You can reach whatever conclusion you want, but it's not good science if you reach a conclusion that opposes your observation. Do you get what I'm saying? You're saying, oh, but this instrument that tells me, we have a pendulum that swings, and it swings different in different places of the world, and we conclude that that's because the Earth is rotating, because of Coriolis. Okay, so I asked him this question. What do you think about an observation an inference that opposes the observation? They should work hand in hand. They should be the same. They should work together. But that's why I'm saying this isn't science. But listen to what Dr. Hilding says.
I think that's an interesting point. And so I always have trouble with this because I kind of agree. Things do look like they're kind of not moving or pretty still, and everything's moving around us. But, that's a relative issue. Einstein kind of noted this very much too. Like, I can't, if he's in an elevator falling at the acceleration of gravity, he's not going to be able to tell the difference between that and being on a planet.
Yeah.
I think it's not an inference. It's that we're talking about here. It's a relative issue. Relative to us, everything appears stationary.
Did you hear what he just said? Relative to us, everything appears stationary. That's important, guys. I'm not saying because he's an astrophysicist. What I'm saying is the point that what he's doing is he's being honest. He's saying relative to us. Now, instead of relative to us, I would change that. If I was going to make that more correct, I would say, since everything that Dr. Nilsson or MC Toon or me or anyone in the chat here, we all perceive everything from our body. So it's all relative to the person perceiving it. Okay? It would be hard to argue with that. It's relative to you. Now we could have a situation and we could say relative to the tetherball pole, the tetherball is orbiting. Or we could say a lot of things like that and make a scenario. But in reality, if we're talking about something like the Earth beneath us or the sky above us, we make an observation from our body. And if we read an instrument, we use our eyes to read the instrument or whatever. We use our senses to even, to watch a pendulum appear to swing or whatever, or to take a scale and weigh something in different locations on the Earth and conclude that that's because of some outward acceleration caused by potential rotation. Here's what I'm saying. Nobody observes it. It's a lie. Just because we're believing it doesn't mean that it's true. Just because a lot of people laugh at the idea that what I'm pointing out here is just simple and it's reality. There's 7.8 or however many billion people on the Earth that every single one of them observes the same Earth. And it ain't moving. It ain't rotating. And so it is a delusional statement to say that you can look up at the sky to see the Earth rotating. That's delusional. Okay, so here, let's finish. Let him finish.
But that doesn't mean everything is stationary. It just means we're moving with it.
Yeah.
So did you hear what he said? What he said. That doesn't mean that we're stationary. It means everything is moving with it. So he ends with an inference that opposes the observation. So he didn't quite. And I don't expect someone to have some good answer right on the spot and on some live stream or something. What I'm saying is, I said, how do you deal with like in science, how do you deal with an observation and then you actually believe specifically the opposite of that observation? So you reject the observation and you believe that you have some better knowledge than your own observation. And so you're rejecting reality. And then he says, well, it's not that I'm rejecting reality. It's just that everything's moving along with the earth. Although he's observing it not. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh, let's watch this little machine gun globe guy. Oh, I guess there's no sound. I thought that
Well,
was
I wanted
sound.
to think.
Oh, okay. That was, I didn't know this was such a long video. Let me see what else is on here. Oh, that's this. Okay. I was showing that in the video. Oh, here, stars in motion. Let's see here. Oh, that was... Oh, here's the video. Okay, I got one more video. I want to... you know how they say that the ISS or astronauts are evidence, or they're a form of evidence of the globe, or they observe the globe, they orbit the globe. Okay. If you actually listen to what the astronauts say, they do talk about curvature, but I think they're looking into a world through like a lens. They're like outside of the world looking into the world, and they see only part of it, and they see it in almost like there was a dome over it, and it makes it look that way, spherical. If you're in a world of darkness, by the way, that is moving really fast, and you look at a world that's not moving from that moving world, that it's gonna look like it's moving, right? But the problem is the space station, the only way that it got up there was by burning fuel to get that orbital velocity, to get something from 0 miles an hour on the Earth that's not moving, to get it to go up to the sky that's obviously in motion, because, watch, we can see it in motion right there. I took this time lapse. That's my backyard. That's the North Star. That's Polaris. So you're going to see them going counterclockwise. If you turn around, it'll look the opposite way. You'll see them going clockwise. So if you look south, you're going to see them clockwise. If you look north, you're going to see them counterclockwise. See, the sun's in motion. The moon's in motion. The clouds are in motion. The stars are in motion. But there's one thing about every picture you'll ever take. That's Vega. The stars, all these things in the sky, they're always going to be appearing to move in a particular way. See right there? See that? That's looking south. I don't know. I didn't take that time lapse, so I don't know where that one's taking. But what I'm saying is you can see that they're closer to the equator than I am. Because I see when I look north, I see circumpolar stars. That means I see stars doing a circle above the horizon. And then at 45 degrees is where Polaris is. But if I look the other way, if I look south, I don't see circumpolar stars because they're way too far south for me to see them. Way, way, way too far away. If I went south and I went to at the equator, you're probably not even going to see them. But if you go a little more south, you'll start seeing some circumpolar stars in the south because you're further south and you're facing the opposite way as north. Okay. Let's see here. Thank you, Phuket World. By the way, I gotta say, I really enjoy your videos, and over the years, I don't know if it's the way that you explain something or just the way you have a way with making me able to understand things that I didn't understand before. Many things. So thank you for that, and props to you. And I love your videos. Some people probably think that the things you talk about or we talk about aren't important, but the only point I would make is that the reason why they're important is because we're talking about them. Not that we're talking about them because they're important. Get it? Do you see what the difference is? I'm saying that we didn't decide to start talking about these things. We found ourselves talking about these things, right? Wouldn't you agree? Almost like people are like, flat earthers are so dumb. Like, think bigger. Think bigger. When was the last time in history where the whole world believed something that was like so true? They believed it so true. And then people in the world, in every country, all over the world, started saying, hey, wait, that's not true. And it happened to be about the very world that they lived in. You know, that's never happened, okay? We're in a time where truth is, I mean, no matter what you believe, there's a group of people that are saying, we see the truth, and it's really true, and it's simple, and it's actually, we all agree with the observations that everybody makes, all agree with what we're saying is true. And it's just such a strong lie that we had to believe it. Listen to the astronauts. Listen to what they say.
So when you look at the Earth from that vantage point, I know others have said this, you don't see the borders. You don't see political borders. You hardly see geographical borders.
You know, we're so used to looking at maps or globes. In low Earth orbit, you don't see a globe. In low Earth orbit, you don't see a globe. In low Earth orbit, you don't see a globe.
So, you know, there's a lot of astronauts that, I have a video, I don't know where it is, but I'm going to find it. I want you to just hear the astronauts talking about how they don't believe it, that it's real sometimes. And I'm not kidding. I'm not saying that just because, like, to get a rise out and do something for Flat Earth. I'm saying that they say that they're just not really sure if it was real. Actually, there was one just recently. One of the astronauts that just came down on a dragon. That's another significant thing. It's going to take me a second to find this video, but really. And I know a lot of flat earthers think the space station is just fake or something. Well, here's the difference. Again, think bigger, and especially people that are reading what the Bible says, like reading the book of Revelation. If you read in there, or what Paul wrote, or what Jesus said, our battle, you guys, this is it's not against other men. There isn't, the truth that I'm speaking of didn't come from men. It's coming from the one who made it all. Because it's almost like, if you think about it, if you see it from my point of view, we're born in a generation that was just unfortunate. Because by the time we were born and lived our lives, the whole world was under this curse. Whatever you want to call it. The heliocentric, they taught us in school about these planets, you know, that they're places, and, you know, they have this solid belief. And then as we've been living our lives, they've been going into space, right? Well, that's in the Bible, guys. It's in the Bible that they go up to. Remember, there's a kingdom up there. Jesus has a kingdom that he's going to, at the end, he comes down and he brings this city down with him. New Jerusalem. The city of truth, it's called. And I'm not kidding. The city of truth. He comes down and he brings that city down. Well, it says in Revelation that the Gentiles or whatever, that they would tread that underfoot. And in the book of Enoch, it says that the fallen angels will return and hurl themselves and that they would go up and tread underfoot that city. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're a flat earther that thinks that NASA, or basically if you think that there's an elite group of people that just know more than you do and they have more power than you do in this world, realize that that's not this case. This is a spiritual battle. And I don't even know what a spirit is. I don't think anybody does. I mean, we try to know, but what is a spirit? I don't think we know. And the battle that, like, what is an angel? What does an angel look like? How does an angel take shape? How does an angel manifest? You know, there's a lot of ways they can manifest it according to the scriptures, because, I mean, they came down and they found women, the daughters of men, to be attractive, and they took them and created offspring. So they manifested as something that was capable of these things. Also, the beasts that Daniel talks about, some of those were made of metal. They had great iron teeth and nails of brass, and they were made of metal. So when I'm talking about a dragon, which is in Revelation, there was war in heaven. That's up in the sky. So in Revelation, there was war in heaven, and it was a dragon, and this dragon was fighting with Michael and his angels, and some of these angels were holding back the four winds from hurting the earth. Like, there's a story in that book. Now, also, something that I mentioned even over in MC Toon's chat tonight. I mean, I'm careful what I say, because I don't want to just like, I don't want to, oh, here we go. My computer's going really slow. I'm just trying to, it's a hard thing to explain. Let's see here. I saw a comment in here that caught my attention. It was Nicholas Benoit said, I didn't want to think it was stationary and contained and apparently flat. I didn't want to have confidence in that, but I do now. Yay. Isn't that strange how that happens? Like, I don't think words can really explain how that happens. But that's actually Phuket Nick, that's what I've noticed about your videos. And I'm trying to think of a specific one, just to use as an example. A lot of times you take a concept such as like perspective, and you'll talk about it like in greater detail than my mind has gone to. And so after I watch your video, I have a different understanding of something, and it doesn't oppose my understanding. It expands my understanding. Do you know what I'm saying? An example is like, you know how when they say, oh, if Earth was flat, I could see Mount Rushmore from here, or whatever, or I could see Japan from here, or whatever. Okay, and like if Earth was flat, you can't have a sunset. The sun wouldn't do that. It would be up in the sky all the time, and things like this. When you analyze, okay, I'm standing at 6 feet tall, so let's just picture my eyes are at 6 feet. And let's say the sun is 500 miles away, okay? So far away. So if something in the sky is 500 miles away, that's however high in the sky, and I don't like to get to the numbers because I don't think we're going to know any of those numbers anyway. I don't think it's worth even debating, but the sun, we see it in a certain part of the sky, and as it goes away from us, or as we rotate backwards, as it goes away from us, goes down to the horizon. And I've noticed, because I've been paying close attention, is that when it gets to the horizon, it changes speed, like it stops pretty much. And then it doesn't really shrink, but A lot of times you'll see it going and it'll disappear from the bottom side up, and they say, oh, well, see, that's because it's going over the horizon. Proves the globe. Until you think about it. Until you think about it. And that's why I'm appreciative to Phuket World's channel. Just the way that you would explain that, you would say, well, let's just think about it. If my eyes are 6 feet and my neighbor's fence is 8 feet, and that's 40 feet away from me, you know, will the sun ever go, you know, disappear bottom side first over my neighbor's fence? Yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Yeah. So what about the building in the city behind your neighbor's fence, you know, 8 miles past, or the mountain right behind that city? That mountain is, you know, 4,000 feet tall, and your eyes are still only at 6 feet. So how is the sun ever gonna set bottom side first over that mountain? Of course it will. Yeah, Phuket Word. I have to say you have a skill at taking something and making it clear and in a way to understand it that doesn't, it's not some, it doesn't go against what anybody, like, you know how people say, oh, you're a flat earther, then everybody must be lying. And I'm like, no, there's a difference between lying and believing a lie. Okay, your teacher in kindergarten, with the globe on his or her desk, when they taught you where you lived on that globe, were they liars? No. They were just telling you what they believed was true. There's a big difference. If someone is lying to people and if someone is just sharing what they believe, basically. But it's obviously being taught, it's not considered to be a belief. It's just considered to be a fact. Well, that's why Flat Earth is here, because it's just not true. And I can't find the video I was looking for. There's one place I'll look, I guess. And that's not the place. It must be in pictures. Okay, I think I know where it is. Sorry, guys. I always get talking and then I forget what I'm even doing. I was trying to find a video and then I forget. I have a video called Sorry Flat Earthers. That might be worth watching. Let's just see what it is, and I'll try to find this other video while we watch this.
There's such a thing as virtual particles that come into existence and then go out of existence in less time than you can actually measure their existence. And totally empty space is seething with virtual particles.
That is real science.
Sorry, Flat Earthers.
Helium hydride, the first type of molecule to ever form in the universe, has been detected in space for the first time ever.
Helium hydride
has been detected in space for the first time ever.
The first type of molecule to ever form in the universe
has been detected in
for the first time ever.
Okay, so, yeah. Some of the stuff that they say makes zero sense. And it's not a legitimate thing to believe, okay? You heard Neil deGrasse Tyson there? Let's listen to him one more time. If you didn't catch that, just pay attention to what he says. This is, like, similar to Delusional.
There's such a thing as virtual particles that come into existence and then go out of existence in less time than you can actually measure their existence.
He did just say that. And look at the look on his face. He's like, huh, what do you think of that? Now I got you. Like, I'm so smart. Okay, so what I was saying about the astronauts is that's the video I was looking for. I got it now. They often don't believe that it's real. And they say this. They say it's just so different than reality. It's just hard to believe that it's even true. So here's just one example of, this is just not an old video. This is just recent. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. Okay, let's, we'll come back to Neil in a minute.
This was your first trip to space. Can you walk me through your feelings and thoughts as you were launching into the space, up to the space station?
Honestly, sometimes we weren't even sure that it was real, but it was just an incredible experience.
Why would she say that? And she looked over at him. Why would they say that? That is weird. I think that human beings aren't so naive, but by the time they get to these positions, there's just so much unbelievable stuff happening, and they're riding in this rocket straight up into the sky. Like, they don't believe it.
Falcon 9 is an awesome ride.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth.
Oh yeah, that's from Revelation 13. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and it had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spake as a dragon. Just so you know, on the left here, that rocket, that's a 2-stage Falcon 9. 2-stage. And that's a Dragon capsule on the right that it lifts into space so that it can fall perpetually forever until they deorbit. So everything in the solar system is perpetually free falling, right? They did 0G experiments on the way to the moon and on the way back. It's not like they were experiencing any kind of physics on the way to or from the moon. Almost as if you go into that place, there is no physics. But if you bring something into that place that's made of metal or that's water or something, there will be a different kind of physics on those things, because those things exist if you're bringing them there, right? If you're inside of a aluminum container so you can have air pressure, and if you're falling into a deep abyss of darkness, and you think you're in a low Earth orbit, or you think you're on the way to the moon, or you think you're sending a probe to Mars, but it's actually all of these things in the solar system, they're all falling. See, there's a really dark, sinister side of this that people aren't seeing. And I can sum it up by saying space, or the solar system, the entire idea of what the solar system is satanic. It's hell. Everything there, it perpetually falls. There's no bottom. It falls forever. Falling. Okay. It's darkness. Darkness. People say, that's just a lack of light. Well, then why is it dark? What is light? Okay. Like if there was a light that I had in my hand and I turned off the light, why wouldn't it be blue? Why wouldn't it be yellow? Why is it dark? Why is it black? Why is it the color that you can't see anything? Because it's a place of nothing. It's an empty place. It's void of everything. That's why the things in it, they want to say, oh, these are planets you can go to. But they're not going to a solar system. Now, I didn't come up with this. They did. Just ask, what's her name, Michelle Thaler. She'll explain how an orbit works. And she explains it by saying, you're perpetually falling without a bottom. You just keep falling. Beware. Okay, so there's another one, but let's do this first. Sorry, Flat Earthers. Let's go back to this.
There's such a thing as...
Okay, hold on. So then this was an old NASA, they were talking about some molecule that the first molecule in the universe or whatever. And they said, and it was, I'll just let them play it.
Helium hydride.
Sorry, Flat Earthers.
Helium hydride,
The first
type of molecule to ever form
in the universe,
has been detected
in space
for the first time ever.
Helium hydride.
Has been detected in space for the first time ever.
The first type of molecule.
How did you know it was the first type of molecule to form in the universe if this is just the dumbest thing. And I know someone writes the script for it and they got it a little bit wrong. Like it sounded a little funny. But there's more.
To ever form in the universe
has been detected in
for the first time ever.
Okay, so you detected it the first time ever, but somehow you know that it was the first one that formed. But you just detected it now. Duh.
What does the ISS smell like?
Oh boy, we're not going to get into that again. Oh, I heard a new one. The Dragon capsule. The announcing girl, I can't remember her name, that announces for SpaceX during their launches or whatever, one of the girls. She said she went to Hawthorne or whatever after the last one came in, and it had a smell to it, a certain, like a unique smell after it had re-entered. And someone told her that that's what burnt bamboo smells like. Burnt bamboo. Burnt bamboo. Oh, you know, I should probably point something out. There's something very simple and weird but simple in the book of Revelation. It talks about these horns. Okay? And there's a part in Revelation and in the book of Daniel, it's the same thing. It's almost the same verse. It says there's a verse that says that these 10 horns that they saw, that they were kings that will arise out of the earth. Okay, they're horns though. That's what Daniel and John both said. They saw horns. They said they looked like horns. But then they were told in the vision or the dream, they were told that those horns were kings. Okay? So when I read about kings, in my mind, I'm not reading about men or something. I'm reading about something shaped like a horn. Something conical shaped. Okay. And that's what these capsules are shaped. They're shaped like a horn. And then in Revelation it says that these kings, that they would burn Babylon with fire. You know, and I was working on a video, and let me see if I still have it up there. Yes, I do. We're gonna watch something on my video maker, so forgive me. I want to show you guys something. Okay, this is a video I was making of a recent dragon re-entering the atmosphere, and you guys gotta. Okay, when I was saying think bigger, like if you see this truth, and specifically talking about if NASA's a bunch of liars or if they're simply being deceived by devils that live up in space. Okay, just and then like in the book of Revelation when the dragon is cast out into the earth. Or another example is when Jesus said that he saw Satan fall from heaven like lightning. Things like that. The dragon in Revelation is that serpent, that old serpent, the devil. Okay. Let me bring you to my desktop. Hopefully this works. Okay, this is a video I'm working on, but was working on till I crashed out. All right. I'm not going to play all 9 minutes of it, but yeah, pay attention to what this looks like. Okay. And what we're going to be seeing is the Dragon capsule. They have an infrared camera. They'll explain how they're getting the shot. It's in a plane or whatever, and they're getting a shot from I don't know how they do that. That's got to be hard. But they've figured it out how to get an infrared shot of the Dragon capsule re-entering, and there's plasma that forms around this vehicle as it comes in, and she'll explain why.
During re-entry, the vehicle will be slowing down from its orbital velocity, which, as I mentioned before, is about 17,500 miles per hour, down to about 350 miles per hour. And the top temperature that Dragon will experience upon reentry is 3,500 degrees, which sounds toasty. I always like to say that we get a toasted marshmallow back from space because that white thermal protection system, or TPS, as you hear us refer to, it does get toasty, but the...
Okay, I was looking for a video. I guess I can't. My computer's tapped out right now, so I'll have to just grab the video, the other one, in a minute.
Crew, they're comfortable, right?
Right.
There's our first view of Dragon Endeavour re-entering the Earth's atmosphere with the Axiom 1 crew.
Heat shield doing all that work to keep that ablative heat, or to keep the heat ablated from the vehicle as it's re-entering at those speeds.
Yeah, so this is a shot from our infrared tracking camera. Once again, the crew, they're slowing down from their orbital velocity of 17,500 miles per hour. That heat shield is utilizing the Earth's atmosphere to help slow the vehicle down. Once again, we are in an expected loss of signal, or LOS period. Essentially, we're not able to receive any communication from the crew at this point in time, but as I said before, expected. The crew knows that. The teams on the ground here know that.
Right, and that was one of the critical roles earlier of beginning acquisition.
Dragon SpaceX comm check.
Do you see that? To me, like, I'm just pausing it here. You know what I'm going to do, actually? I'm going to, let's see, we'll speed it up and I'll turn the volume down. And we'll go, I just want you guys to see, oops, what happened there? I went 8 times the speed. I just want you guys to see what this looks like. This is weird. Like, there's something going from outside of our world, and this is how they have learned that they can go out of it and then into it. Just think about this from that perspective. I'm not saying, because most people that are flat earthers or whatever, they're going to say, oh, that's just dumb. Nobody's doing anything up there. It's all just lies. Okay, well, stop doing that. Think bigger. Okay? Do you think that this truth came to you because somebody was lying to you? Like your teacher or something was trying to... Nobody's hiding anything from you except the devil and his fallen angels. Okay? Let's just... Okay, now it's playing in 8 times the speed, and I know you guys can probably hardly see it, but I'm just... I want you to understand that you see those ripples around it. What's happening? What is that? That's plasma. 3,500 degrees. Okay. So there's that. Let me, I'm try to get a video now. Actually, let me pause it, go back to regular speed, and just hear what they say about this when this dragon touches ground.
Live view from onboard Dragon Endeavour of those drogue parachutes. Capsule's going about 350 miles per hour.
Nominal ascent rate for 2 healthy drogues.
Copy, sir.
It's what you love to hear from inside the capsule.
Exactly.
Because unfortunately they can't see the parachutes, so to hear that call out that their drogues are healthy, it's great news. So there's a better shot of those drogue parachutes from our tracking camera.
You know, and having that single voice with the core, talking to crew, letting crew know that they're going into a planned LOS, and then coming back. All right, there's the 4 mains deploying.
Yeah, that would be a conical shaped vehicle. That I think that's the Kings that it's talking about, but whatever, that's kind of another story. Okay, listen to what this astronaut says. Because people always act like the astronauts are some kind of evidence, or the ISS is some kind of evidence of Earth's curvature and all this. I get the concept is they think they're falling around the curvature, and that's the only way that they create a consistent orbit. But I don't believe that. I think they're just going into darkness and being deceived by these devils that are imprisoned there. These spiritual beings They work in a different way than we do on the earth. Like they inspire and they do different. Okay, here's an example. The planets, those are evil spirits. Those lights in the sky that we call planets. When you look up at Jupiter and you see Jupiter, that is not a place. It's not a ball of gas or whatever. You could send a probe there and have it check it all out and orbit it and take videos, pictures, and you'll get all the information back. You better believe it, but it isn't even a place. It's a spirit. So what Paul said that when he went up to the third heaven, he saw some of this, and he said, or the angel said to him that those are evil spirits that draw down to themselves the hearts of men. They call men to look up in the sky and say, we could go there. So they work that way. That's one of the ways they work, to defile men and cause us to go astray, cause us to believe lies. Okay, let's listen to this astronaut.
The Crew Dragon. The Crew Dragon to get us from Earth to low Earth orbit. The Crew Dragon, the Falcon 9 rocket into space. Crew Dragon, Crew Dragon, Crew Dragon, now here on the International Space Station.
Orbiting laboratory. Work is being done up there.
The International Space Station is outside the Earth's atmosphere in space. Tricky spacewalk. Astronaut on the International Space Station to help keep the space station running. Maybe you're working on the toilet to understand dark matter to space. Thawing out, human cells to return that science to Earth's microgravity laboratory. It's like 6,000 square feet up here in the International Space Station. There's a lot of other people up here. We're going to be here for 6 months. We're in it for the long haul, which is also very exciting.
Spacewalks and using tools in space.
The Artemis program.
The Artemis program.
The Artemis program, and the work that we do right here on the International Space Station. Been an astronaut, oh gosh, I'm just not going to be any good at that. Space station, we're looking back billions of light years. It's kind of mind-boggling.
To the space station.
I experienced some nausea.
How is sleeping in space?
Because you're just floating. It's not used to just floating. And so it does feel a little weird.
Floating up in space.
Our planet is 2/3 covered in ocean. Of course, I love to look out the window at our beautiful planet. It's lovely to look out the window and watch the world go by. Well, it's got to be floating. You can just kind of perch up on the wall. I can just hop over to the side and just find a nice little perch to sit on board the space station.
What does it smell like in space?
So that's an interesting question. So it smells like people up here. It's not really fresh air. When people went out to do a spacewalk and then came back inside, I smelled the smell of cooking meat. It smelled like hamburger to me, which was so strange. And that smell is the smell that space smells like hamburger. It smelled like hamburger to me, which was so strange. We have so much fun up here. It's just a great time up here. I smelled the smell of cooking meat, and we're getting paid for it.
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 Maybe you're working on the toilet. And so it does feel a little weird. Oh gosh, I'm just not going to be any good at that. And we're getting paid for it, 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 paid for it. I smelled the smell of cooking meat. It's kind of mind-boggling. And we're getting paid for it, paid for it.
The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is.
I like that video. Okay, so I was talking about the firmament, and these aren't my ideas that these evil spirits are up there. Okay, here's an account this is from the Vision of St. Paul the Apostle, or it's called the Apocalypse of Paul. He goes up. This is written in Corinthians. He goes out. He talks about a man he knew 14 years ago that was taken up into heaven. He didn't know if he was in his body or not. And he went up there, and he said that he learned, while he was up there, he learned words that were unlawful for a man to speak. But when he was up there, the angel said, but I will tell you what you can dictate or note for people. And it's very interesting. But listen to what Paul says he saw when he looked at the firmament. And the angel answered and said unto me, follow me, and I will show you the place of the just, where they are led, when they are deceased. And after these things taking thee into the abyss, I will show thee the souls of sinners, and what sort of place they are led into when they have deceased. And I proceeded back after the angel, and he led me into heaven. And I looked back upon the firmament, and I saw in the same place power, and there was their oblivion, which deceives, and draws down to itself the hearts of men, and the spirit of detraction, and the spirit of fornication, and the spirit of madness, and the spirit of insolence. And there were there the princes of vices. These I saw under the firmament of heaven. And again I looked back, and I saw angels without mercy, having no pity, whose countenance was full of madness, and their teeth sticking out beyond the mouth. Their eyes shone like the morning star of the east, and from the hairs of their heads sparks of fire went out, or from their mouth. And I asked the angel, saying, Sir, who are those? And the angel answered and said unto me, These are those who are destined to the souls of the impious in the hour of need, who did not believe that they had the Lord for their helper, nor hoped in him. And he took me down from the third heaven, and led me into the second heaven. And again he led me on to the firmament, and from the firmament he led me over the doors of heaven. The beginning of its foundation was on a river which waters all the earth. And I asked the angel and said, Lord, what is this river of water? And he said to me, This is Oceanus. And suddenly I went out of heaven, and I understood that it is the light of heaven which lightens all the earth. For the land there is 7 times brighter than silver. And I said, Lord, what is this place? And he said to me, This is the land of promise. Hast thou never heard what is written? Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. The souls, therefore, of the just, when they have gone out of the body, are meanwhile dismissed to this place. And I said to the angel, Then this land will be manifested before the time? And the angel answered and said to me, When Christ, whom thou preachest, shall come to reign, then, by the sentence of God, the first earth will be dissolved, and this land of promise will then be revealed. And it will be like dew or cloud, and then the Lord Jesus Christ, the King eternal, will be I don't know what happened manifested
there.
and will
Okay.
come with all his saints to dwell in it. And he will reign over them 1,000 years, and they will eat of the good things which I shall now show unto thee. So, Paul said he saw the promised land when he went up there, and the angel said, This is the land that will be revealed before the time, before Christ comes, to reign at the end. And Jesus said this too. He said, This gospel of the kingdom will be preached unto all nations as a witness, and then the end will come. That's footage of weird things in space. That's from the shuttle in 1996. They took this footage of these weird pulsating orb things that all look the same with these little, I don't know, weird. Look at that. What is that? They're not going in straight lines. They're like flying in wherever they want. And see that line in the thing, that's like a tether that broke off the shuttle. Hey, make sure you subscribe to F-Top World if you haven't, and hit the like button. Why not? So have you guys heard of someone talking about destroying some certain technology that we used to have or something? I don't know. I think I made a video about it. That might be a good one. Raja says, come on, we all know the Earth is round. Yes, it is. It's a circle. But it's not spherical. Water never does that. Only in your imagination. Only in your frontal lobe will water do that. It never does that in reality.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Let's take a peek at the process.
It looks kind of flat.
NASA's Rob Simon made this.
Reinforces beliefs that you already had, because that is our fundamental tendency, to look for evidence that supports what we already believe. Look for evidence that supports what we already believe. It reinforced the importance of stewardship of our planet and carrying those responsible practices with us as we go out and explore.
So some of those are painted on.
It is photoshopped, but it's has to be.
Then
there was another layer to sort of simulate the atmosphere.
And then there's this little bright spot.
It's called the specular highlight. So it's the reflection of sunlight off of water.
Those are the pieces, but you can't just slap them all together.
It just didn't look realistic. It looks kind of flat. It looks kind of flat, or the clouds are sort of too see-through. So I just hit Command Z a lot.
There's artistry to creating the world.
What I imagine it to be. Unfortunately, I'm not an astronaut. I've never been to space, but I've looked at these images over and over again.
Look for evidence that supports what we already believe.
Let's take a peek at the process. The toilet, which maybe 30 deposits.
Hey, I just wanted to point something out. Did you guys ever notice that when they show you the toilet, they like to touch it a lot with their fingers and their hands? That's kind of weird to me. I tend to not touch toilets.
That's where your business goes. You want to be a good crew member, so you make sure that you wipe off the excess, use a disinfectant wipe occasionally or often.
Weirdos.
But I want to show you number 2, and there's a plastic liner.
They love touching that thing. I don't get it. These are sick people.
And mushrooms, and I do not like mushrooms, so I don't mind contributing this piece of food.
Okay, I mind, and every taxpayer minds, you doorknob. You know how much that costs? I don't even want to get into the numbers, but to put a pound of something in space or to put some food up there and to make NASA probably charges close to $1 million for them mushrooms. What a joke. And he's just going to throw them away for this because he doesn't like them. Well, let someone else eat them then, doorknob. That costs like 50 grand, I bet.
In the name of education. So pretend I ate this yesterday, and now it goes into there.
And it was a magical thing I'll just never forget. They don't twinkle. They just stare at you. They
Remember what Paul said? Or the angel that Paul's talking to? About those evil spirits drawing the hearts of men? Listen to what this guy says.
dare you to come and to explore, that we don't just see the stars, that we explore them, that we live there, that we grow into what we can be.
And what you're seeing here is a mirage.
On behalf of Ripley, Little Earth, myself, and our crew, welcome to the Crew Dragon. Congratulations to all of the teams who made yesterday's launch and today's docking a success. These amazing feats show us not how easy our mission is, but how capable we are of doing hard things. Welcome to the new era in spaceflight.
Oh, not to, like, point out that you're wrong, Nicholas. That's not the point. But just to make NASA sound even worse, Nicholas said 60 million. That's this year's budget. Actually, 60 million per day. 365 days in the year, 60 million. So that's like 26 billion. That's a lot of money.
Actually, we're drinking the urine coming from these ones.
Did you hear what he just said? And you know, he's doing this space station tour that it's for children, for schools and stuff. They interview them. So they're teaching your children. Well, hopefully you're not sending your children to school these days, but a lot of people don't have a choice. But at least hopefully you're telling your children that they're being taught lies in school and let them. I mean, children aren't stupid. They're actually smarter than we are because they haven't been brainwashed for 40 years, 50 years. So I think they're a little smarter sometimes if they're being taught the truth. Like, I know a lot of children that they're like, obviously it's flat and stationary. Look at it. Like if you ask a toddler, do you think that the earth is moving? They'll actually look down at the ground before they answer. They'll be like, I don't think it is. No. They'll actually think about it because they haven't been, pounded over the head with them. It's moving. It's rotating. You're on a spinning ball. Like that's what we've all been taught, that there was nothing to learn. We already know it all. So think about that. Okay, so let's listen to what this guy's teaching your kids.
This is actually a container that has urine in it, and we get that from the Russians, and we make us drinking water. We're drinking the urine coming from these ones.
Oh, I like this. Concave, convex. Okay, I gotta warn you, this was me. This is old, but it's pretty funny because it was like when I first got my program and I was learning how to use it. So, prepare yourself.
Team Skeptic.
Peas in your Cheerios.
She said we went to the moon.
Roger.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly.
Roger. Clear.
We must solve these challenges before we send people through this region of space.
No, now I'm not sure we went far enough out to encounter the Van Allen radiation belt.
Guess what?
That is real science.
Guess what?
That is real science.
Serious research, scientific research.
Chugga 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 chug.
Guess what?
That is real science.
Toilet that you use, and then a machine that goes chugga 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 chug, and then you go to the galley and you make yourself a cup of coffee. Guess what?
That is real science.
Guess what?
That is real science.
We also are cleaning up our urine and making it drinkable. And
that is real science.
Guess what?
It's really not as bad as it sounds.
Real science.
Serious research, scientific research.
But up here, everything hangs off the walls and there's cables everywhere.
Real science. Real science. Real science. Real science.
So if you found this video interesting at all, be sure to hit that thumbs up and leave a comment below.
And a very odd video as well. It made no sense.
Okay, we have some videos coming up because when I'm looking through my folders, whatever, I'm seeing videos that I forgot about. And if Tony's coffee house, or I forgot what his new name is now, whatever coffee house guy, Tony, Rad Coffee House, was it? This is going out for you. This is a quick reminder that it's really hard. Well, actually, you know, like, it's really hard to hear other people sometimes when they're...
No, it's because I'm distanced from you. You'd probably have a hard time hearing from me right now should I have a mask on and that be muffled.
Mr. President,
You're going to have to take that off, please. You're very muffled, so if you would take it off, it would be a lot easier.
Okay.
I can't hear you!
Hello, there it is.
Yes.
I can't hear you! I said I can't hear you!
I can't hear you!
I can hear you!
I can't hear you.
You're very muffled.
I can't hear you!
I can't hear you! I can't hear you! I can't hear you!
Cool. I see Corey here. He says, found you through Dell. Dell's awesome. That guy's funny. Like, I don't think maybe we're on the same page or whatever on stuff, but I had a conversation with him once. He's a nice guy. And he's very has a very strong... He's another one that he's good at bringing something to reality. Like, explaining... Now, I have to admit that his accent gets the best of me sometimes, and I have to like, what did he say? But yeah, Del's awesome. Who knows Corey? I just met Corey, if that's who you're talking about. They still making peanut butter sandwiches. Okay, here is... I have quite a few good ones coming up. Okay, this one, I starred in this video, but yeah, I have to play it.
Come on out here. We're in hot pursuit. Get in your vehicle. Let's go. Come on. Just move.
Cut through Sand Creek Road around the next bend here.
Okay, that I just had to play that one because I hadn't seen it for a while. I went to a lot of work to be in the car, you know. Let's see here. Okay, so I don't know why I get sick of watching these ones, but I think it's still good to watch. There's a little bit of repeating going on. There's going to be. It's about the smell of space. Now, I'm going to remind you, and hopefully it's in this video. It should be in this video. But those waters that the angels, this is in Enoch. Oh man. I got my book of Enoch. While we're watching the video, I'm going to find it. I think it's in the video. I hope I put it in the video. Enoch talks about that when those angels, they're imprisoned in these waters. The angels that deceived mankind, they were imprisoned in these waters. And something about the waters moving or heaving or something that produced the smell of sulfur. Now, that's just like a side note, but it actually, those waters actually turn into a lake of fire because of those angels descending or ascending or something like that. I'm almost sure it's in this video, but here's all the astronauts talking about this weird smell of a place that they think is a vacuum, so there wouldn't be any smell. There wouldn't be a smell. But they even say it's a really weird thing. We just call it the smell of space.
And then as soon as they wanted to open the hatch, the cosmonaut and astronaut who were with me told me, are you ready for the smell of space? Because it's a very unique smell, and this is the only time you can smell it. So I was ready there, and they opened the hatch, and I took a good whiff, and it smelled something like a burnt cookie. And I kept telling them, it smells weird. It's very
People are
unique.
baking in space.
I know.
When they opened the hatch, did Dragon have that new car smell?
It absolutely did. In fact, there was a little bit of space smell in the vestibule. And then when we got that hatch open, you could tell it was a brand new vehicle. Space smell.
Things don't smell the same.
Their burnt steak and gunpowder smell that many astronauts report in the airlock. That's one of the few smells you can smell strongly.
You're inside the spaceship most of the time. The only time you could smell space is when you come back in from a spacewalk. And as you repressurize the airlock and open the hatch, there's a distinctive smell to it. And it smells a little bit like being on a shooting range, like that sort of lingering gunpowder cordite smell. So maybe a little bit like brimstone. A little bit like brimstone. That's what it smells.
Owen from San Francisco says, they say that the sense of smell creates the strongest memories for a person. What does the ISS smell like, and what scent do you miss on Earth? The ISS, we've got a really good filtering system. There's air flowing. In fact, everything you hear when you're up here is fans going and air circulating. So we're constantly getting a fresh supply of oxygen. We're constantly getting the carbon dioxide scrubbed and all the other things filtered out. So it really doesn't smell, although when we first docked with the shuttle, there was a noticeable smell, but you get accustomed to it very quickly, so I can't tell anything anymore. There's one smell up here that's really unique, though, and that is the smell. We just call it the smell of space, but we experience it when I haven't had a chance to do a spacewalk yet. I'm still waiting and hoping for that. But when other guys did and they came back in, after we repressurized and opened up the volume for them to come back into the station, there's this really, really strong metallic smell. And I don't know exactly what it is. Something to do with maybe atomic oxygen interacting with the suit materials, or we're not exactly sure what it is. It's a very distinct smell, and it's the smell of space. It's really cool.
When you come in from a spacewalk, you're surrounded by the emptiness of space. It's sort of like the opposite of air. There's nothing there at all. When you quickly repressurize the hatch and you open up the hatch and you smell, what is that lingering smell from a place that used to be exposed to space? The smell in there is a little bit like that trace of a smell of gunpowder or burnt steak, or sort of like brimstone, like a witch has just been there. It's a cool, lingering trace of a smell. I think what it really is, brimstone, like sort of that metallic gunpowder-fired smell, like a witch has just been there.
And he will imprison those angels who have shown unrighteousness in that burning valley which my grandfather Enoch had formerly shown to me in the west among the mountains of gold and silver and iron and soft metal and tin. And I saw that valley in which there was a great convulsion, and a convulsion of the waters. And when all this took place, from that fiery molten metal and from the convulsion thereof in that place, there was produced a smell of sulfur, and it was connected with those waters. And that valley of the angels who had led astray mankind burned beneath that land. And through its valleys proceed streams of fire, where these angels are punished, who had led astray those who dwell upon the earth.
And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven. And the evening and the morning were the second day.
The weird part about it is space is so incredibly black, so incredibly dark. It's a bottomless pit of deep black. Almost so deep it almost has a texture when you look at it. And
Even darkness which may be felt.
The Crew Dragon. The Crew Dragon to get us from Earth to low Earth orbit. The Crew Dragon, the Falcon 9 rocket into...
Okay, this is the one that we just watched, or part of it, so I'm gonna fast forward to that because it was a good video, but I don't want to make you guys sit through it twice. Okay, I think this is the end of it. All right, there's one more. Well, there's one more in this video, but there's many more.
The Crew Dragon. The Crew Dragon to get us from Earth to low Earth orbit. The Crew Dragon, the Falcon 9... Going to be any good at that.
Sorry,
Space
guys. I guess that was on there twice. That was on there twice. I'm sorry. I like that, Susan Donahue, what you said, because I never really thought about that. She said, what if remnants of previous space wars, and then giants in parentheses, continue to float around in the deep. I like how you worded that too, in the deep. Outer darkness. And it's beneath God's feet. So just imagine that. Like, way above that. That darkness is, to me, that darkness is like the bottom of the heavenly realm, the very bottom. And it's actually the darkness that's upon the face of the deep. And then in Genesis, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. I think it's talking about those waters. And there's a sea of glass. Like, all of this, I'm not saying that I understand it, like I have a picture of it in my mind, but I do have, a much more real understanding of it than I did before, than I did 5 or 6 years ago. But okay, there's another video. Where did it go? Okay, here it is. NASA. They already don't know everything.
The International Space Station is a national orbiting laboratory. Every single day, we are answering big questions about Earth and about space, about where we came from and about where we're going. We're learning more questions to ask. Known knowns, we know what we know what we don't know, and then there's a whole bunch of things that we don't know what we don't know. And that's the exciting thing to me. One of the exciting things about exploration is that every time we learn something new, sometimes it opens up another can of worms. It opens up five more questions that we want to answer. Known knowns, we know what we know what we don't know, that we don't know what we don't know.
When we could resume the dream of Apollo. The goal of SpaceX really was to make as much progress as possible to advance rocket technology to the point where hopefully we can establish a colony on Mars. Dream of Apollo.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
Apollo.
Apollyon.
And we could resume the dream of Apollo.
The angel of the bottomless pit.
Apollo.
So I want to explain something because I actually forgot about it, but I made a little graphic thing in here or whatever. I don't know what it's called, like a little short like video thing I edited in with all these flames. And I want to explain what it was. So I'm going to try to find it here. Okay, it's this right here that's on your screen. I know a lot of you understand what I'm trying to point out here. But let me just, okay. This, to me, this is like a sign of New Jerusalem. I'm not saying that that's specifically the city, but this woman here, Virgo, on September 23rd of 2017, it seems to me, and it was, there's no denying it, that the world was definitely aware of this, this sign, this Revelation 12 sign. Now, not everybody believes that, and you don't have to believe that, but I believe that there was something, happening in the book of Revelation that we were seeing. And so in that story, he said he saw a wonder of a woman, or wonder in heaven of a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet. And so this is an image that was, I think it's taken from Stellarium or something like that. And I took and I added these flames to it. But there's a reason why. Because there's a battle happening up there between kings or horns. There's a battle happening. It's a literal war between the dragon and his angels and Michael the archangel and his angels. There's a war happening. We can see it actually. But I'm going to play, there's just like not even a minute left of this video, but hopefully I can grab something to show you. I want to show you what the war in heaven looks like with your eyes. If you look up in the sky, you can see it. I mean, I can't see it from where I live. Maybe not from where you live, but what I'm saying is I can show you what it looks like. And I know people that have seen this. Thomas Morgan lives in Florida. He sees it all the time. Depends on where you live. You'd have to... lots of people see these launches. So let me grab that while we watch the rest of this. I'll tell you what's important to me is that you might not agree with me, and I'm not telling you that you should or something, but that a huge change that came from researching Flat Earth, even bigger than that, the change that happened in my understanding was, it's explained on the screen right now. Instead of SpaceX, that's blasphemy of God's tabernacle. It's a sin. It's pure wickedness. It's the fulfillment of what Lucifer dreams of. What Lucifer has written on his heart is to ascend into heaven and to exalt his throne above the stars of God and be like the Most High. Now, it's not... 5 years ago, I didn't understand anything like that. So here's the SpaceX Dragon. Here's what it looks like. Here's a launch. This is just someone's footage from the ground. Check it out. There's waters above, remember? And angels. And that's a dragon. And a Falcon 9 booster. The booster's gonna go make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. On your screen you can see it. They've been doing that since 2015. And they land them. I know it's dumb, whatever. I'm gonna replay this. Let me turn the music down a little bit. I want to explain something. Just my understanding of this book of Revelation. Something in here. It says in Revelation 7, and I'm not trying to read it. I'm just gonna kind of, explain what my understanding of it is. John said he sees these angels, these 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds from hurting the earth. And John said that it was given to those angels to hurt the earth. And they were holding the winds. And what's happening on your screen, this isn't just one prophet of God that wrote this. No, it's many of them. Okay, let me just change my... I want to read something to you. So we've been talking about Revelation a lot, but like people would say, oh, you're a Bible thumping channel. No, it's not about that. There's some content that if you haven't understood it, I want you to understand it. And you don't have, it's not about being religious or knowing, the name of God, or it's not about that. It's about truth. In this world that we're in, it's about truth. And what I've learned is that it only comes, grace and truth came by Jesus Christ, the Son of God. And that's the only way. And that's actually what Jesus said. He said, to this cause was I born, and for this reason I came into the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth hears my voice. That's what Jesus said. When Pilate asked him, what is truth? What is truth? So let's see here. Where was I? I don't know which folder I was trying to go to. Oh, here, it's this one right here. Okay. This is, there's a story happening here. And Daniel saw it too. I just want to read Daniel 7 to you, with some, videos playing that hopefully are hopefully it's something that you can look at and go, wow, that is talking about the things we're seeing in our world, because that's important to realize. Phuket World says, thanks to recent vids showing this clearly liquid firmament. I have a video to show you that. Well, I'm going to read this Daniel 7. This is a video I'm going to play. But I'm going to, after that, I'm going to grab sometimes when they launch a rocket, you can see it looks like it's going right through water when it goes through when it, breaks the speed of sound, which is, by the way, a limitation of our natural world that doesn't make any sense, that a vehicle can go faster than the sound it is making. That doesn't make any sense. So they say physics is this, solid thing. No, it's not. You built your physics upon these things. So of course it's going to make sense. But it doesn't explain any of the... Wow. Okay, so here we go. Opening that. Listen to this story. This is a dream that Daniel had, but it was about the end of the age or whatever. Daniel 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and vision. Oh, I have to pause it. I'm sorry. I just read a comment. Was curious, and I appreciate your comment. It says, how does it make sense to link things with an arbitrary religious book? And that's curious. I'm glad you asked that, because that's a good way for me to try to answer that, is a good way to maybe explain what I'm saying. If something's foretold, and I know there's people claim that lots of things have come to pass in the Bible, and they have. I believe they have. But if there's something so specific that when you just listen to what because if you have to think about the context of the situation is that Daniel, in this case, that we're going to listen to Daniel 7. So he had this pretty complex dream, I think, and he was told in the dream to write it down. And so he did, and it was pretty detailed, and we're going to listen to it here. But what I want to point out is that these beasts that he sees don't just blank out when he's describing the specific things about these beasts. And I'll just give a quick example. The first one he sees, one of the interesting things about it is that it's lifted up from the earth. Okay, that's a very specific thing. So it was Daniel obviously saw it being lifted up from the earth. That's what he's telling us in the dream. This first piece, and the second one was told to arise. Okay, what I'm saying is, if you think about what a rocket is, it's the only way to quote unquote escape the earth, to leave the earth. You have to have this, I mean, the shuttle, I guess, or whatever, but you have to get to this certain velocity in order to break free from the boundaries of this earth. Some would say the firmament, or some would say whatever. So let's start this over. But what I want to say is that, okay, we live in a time. How long have rockets been a thing? Like 60 years or something, 70 years, I think, somewhere in there. And it doesn't matter. But what I'm saying is, it's a new thing in this world, as far as what our history would tell us. I mean, when we read about the Tower of Babel in the Bible or something, it sounds so similar, but they were building it with mud and baking, making bricks. So that's a different thing than being able to actually have not only wings, but have like super hypersonic orbital velocity wings. It's something new to this world. Even what is it, 64? Gemini 3 or whatever it was. They were learning about what an orbit was. They didn't know what they were doing. They were testing the boundaries of these dangerous things and expensive things because they had the money. Because, well, I'm not going to go into the history of all that, but we suddenly had these scientists that knew how to build rockets. Okay. Daniel's dream, I'm going to play it right now. Daniel's dream to me is he was taken to the time that we live in, and I don't know how this happens, but his dream was along with us in his dream. Like, he saw the things that very specifically that we're seeing, and a lot of them have to do with what Jesus is going to do. Where does Jesus come from? I mean, when he returns, he cometh with clouds, and every eye will see him. Okay, there's a war happening, and it's a war that's happening down here in our minds, and it's a war that's happening up there in reality. And it's a lot about what people believe. Okay, here we go. Daniel 7. Daniel 7. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. The first was like a lion, and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured, and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it. It was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him. The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion, and glory, and a kingdom, that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom, and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever. Then I would know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured, brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. I beheld, and the same horn made war with the saints, and prevailed against them, until the Ancient of Days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, and times, and the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it unto the end. And the kingdom and dominion, and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven, shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in my heart. Did you guys notice how all of those beasts rose up into the sky? They all Okay? Now, that was Daniel 7. That was a dream he had, and it was explained to him in the dream that this was these kingdoms that would come at the end times, or at the end. Now, a strange thing to think about. I don't know if I'll be able to explain this, but just think about this. There's another vision that Daniel has, and it even says that it's it's part 2. It's like a continuation of the other dream that we just listened to. So he has this other one, and this gets so specific. When I hear it, he's talking about now he calls it a he-goat, like he's saying he sees this little goat. But it only had one horn, and the horn was like, I'll just let, I hope I have the right copy of this, but I try to put it into, oh, that's probably not the right one. Yeah, that's an 11-minute video. Oh, wait, okay, let me do this. This could be the video, but I can play a short one. Let me find the short one that I know where it is, and I also know that I made it a long time ago. Let's see here. I made it probably like 2017 or something like that. And it'll give you the idea of what I think Daniel's describing. I think he's very specifically describing. Okay, let me explain one thing first. Okay, the word ram. I found the video here. When Daniel said he sees a ram, okay, we've all thought about a ram. We know what a ram is. But I want to expand on that word, because when that word is used to describe, or it's used to describe gate posts, and I think in Solomon's temple it's used to describe something that's called a lintel or a header. It's a long, straight, strong board that would go over a doorway or an entryway or something like that, and probably sit on 2 posts or something like that. A structural beam, okay? But this word is not only an animal, the ram. This word that Daniel uses was translated to ram, and that makes sense, but you'll see right at the beginning of this video, what I'll do is I'll pause it so we can just read what it says.
Then I lifted up.
Okay, so we're going to look at this. Okay, it's 352, and it's A-Y-I-L, ale. Okay, and it says, mighty man, lintel, that was the word I was just describing, like a header. Oak, post, okay, a post, just consider this. Ram, tree, from the same as UWL, properly strength, hence anything strong, specifically a chief, politically also a ram from his strength. A pilaster as a strong support. Do you guys know what a pilaster is? A pilaster is a structural column that's built into the structure. It's part of the structure, so you only see part of it. Like, it's a lot of times it's decorative, but it's a column that is attached into the wall. Like, it looks like it's embedded into the wall, basically. So this is not only describing an animal. The point I'm making here will be clear. Here we go.
Then I lifted up mine eyes, and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. I saw the ram pushing westward, and northward, and southward, so that no beasts might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will, and became great. And as I was considering, behold, And he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and touched not the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram. And he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him. But he cast him down to the ground, and stamped upon him. And there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great. And when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south, and toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great, even to the host of heaven. And it cast down some of the hosts and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away.
Okay, so did you hear what he was saying? Now, I know he called it a he-goat and a ram. We don't know what he was describing with his words, his own words, what he was seeing. Okay, he wouldn't say rocket because that word's only so old, right? And note number 1, he said, it waxed great even to the host of heaven. So he saw it down on the ground, and then he watched it go up to the heavens, up to the stars, and cast some of the stars down to the ground. Okay? And on its way up, these other horns, these ones kept falling, or it would cast them down to the ground, and then a new one would come up. This was describing the stage separations of a rocket launch. Now, you don't have to agree with me, but what I'm saying is that he described something. First of all, he started with the he-goat, but he was clearly not talking about like a furry little animal, because he said that it moved across the face of the earth without touching the ground. So it was something that was flying that looked like a goat. And he said it had a notable horn between his eyes. What I'm saying is, let's really listen carefully to what Daniel is describing. It's interesting stuff. So this next video, this video is like quite old, and this next one is too, but this is a short one, and this is more from Daniel, and just check it out.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn. In this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
Up there. And we're now about to fly sort of version 2 and version 3. And with each one, we're able to make the reusability of the heat shield better. So
It ablates less as it enters, and so we're able to get more flights. So that's Dragon version 2.
I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. And of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, even of that horn that had eyes, and a mouth that spake very great things. In this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
So I'm sitting here in the pilot seat. Pull it down.
Okay, so I hope you got that. I had my mic on that whole time. Sorry. Okay, so now here's to go on that. Now, the idea of the Dragon that's launching and coming and landing and all that stuff, the SpaceX Dragon, the idea that that is the way that Lucifer or Satan manifested himself to deceive this world, a last effort to deceive this world, that idea is laughed at, and people say Satan's not a rocket. But you just heard Daniel describing these beasts as being, some of them were made of metal, of iron. It had iron teeth. Well, check this out.
All stations on Dragon, 1 minute until configure for terminal count.
T-minus 30 seconds. Minus 15 seconds.
Falcon 9, go for propellant loading. Dragon is in countdown.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition.
It's just after midnight on March 3rd, and you are looking at a live view of the Dragon spacecraft as it approaches the International Space Station for a planned docking in just under 2.5 hours from now. Dragon 2, Dragon B.
Dragon. And in case you missed it, which I don't know how you could have, the mission began just about 24 hours ago when Falcon 9 lifted off from historic Launch Pad 39A in Cape Canaveral at 2:49 a.m. local time, lighting up the sky. Falcon 9 carrying Crew Dragon in
Dragon is
Dragon. The Dragon will
Dragon V, Dragon all
Dragon and Dragon's
Dragon is Dragon space Dragon X Dragon into
Dragon's
Dragon is Dragon's
Dragon while
Dragon is Dragon's Dragon deliver
Dragon into space.
Dragon space Dragon
fly on Dragon. Crew Dragon.
Dragon's NASA's Commercial Crew Program, though, represents a new era in space travel, and since the end of the shuttle program, the only ride of the station has been on the Russian Soyuz. But by working with SpaceX and Boeing, there's soon going to be a new fleet of spacecraft capable of bringing humans to low Earth orbit. And of course, all of this supports the mission of the International Space Station, humanity's premier laboratory in space, where we're pushing the boundaries in science and technology every single day.
The space station, its history is really interesting. It's been up in orbit for almost 2 decades now. Let's take a close look at how the International Space Station came to be and its role in furthering human space exploration.
The International Space Station, a football field-sized, million-pound laboratory flying around planet Earth at 17,500 miles per hour. It's our home in low Earth orbit and the bridge to exploring the far reaches of our solar system. A place to learn what it takes to live, to work, to thrive in space. Thanks to space agencies representing more than a dozen countries around the world, it went from the drawing board to liftoff when the first piece flew into space in 1998. That kicked off over a decade of construction, hauling the station to orbit piece by piece on NASA's space shuttle and Russian rockets. And after the first crew arrived in November 2000, we started an unbroken streak of humans living and working in space. Building on the legacy of past outposts like Skylab and Mir, the International Space Station became the training ground for humanity's next great journeys. Learning how to live in space for extreme periods of time, building and perfecting the technologies necessary to travel to our neighbors in the solar system. It gave us a place right on our doorstep to prepare for the next giant leap into the unknown. And thanks to the station, a new era in outer space is unfolding. What was once the domain of only nations and governments is now populated by a growing space fleet from American industry. Private spacecraft to fly cargo and crew members, new habitats and technologies for future space missions, and an open door for companies, research institutions, and even students around the world to do research in space that have never had the opportunity before. All laying the foundation for a robust economy in space. There have been thousands of experiments, hundreds of spacewalks, endless hours of challenges and successes, all done by humans hailing from countries around the globe. The International Space Station is what we can achieve as a planet when we come together to do the things that are hard. And the work isn't slowing down, because we're ready for the next giant leap, because we're ready to go farther, because what we do and learn along the way is for the benefit of all of humankind.
Now let's talk a little more about Crew Dragon. Crew Dragon
basically fly itself, but Dragon.
Crew Dragon, Space Dragon,
Falcon 9, the Dragon caps.
Up to 7 crew members with
Dragon.
Dragon and Dragon to Dragon in Dragon and Dragon 6.
Dragon was Falcon 9 and Dragon. Dragon is healthy. Dragon is a Dragon splashes safely down back on the Earth.
Dragon is headed towards the International Space Station here.
And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being with child, cried, travailing in birth, and pained to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with the rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto God, and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven,
Now is come salvation, and strength, and the kingdom of our God, and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
And when the dragon saw that he was cast unto the earth, he persecuted the woman which brought forth the man-child. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion.
It's the end of the shuttle program. The only ride of the station has been on the Russian Soyuz, but by working with SpaceX and Boeing, there's soon going to be a new fleet of spacecraft capable of bringing humans to low Earth orbit.
And the dragon gave him his power, and his seat, and great authority. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death. And his deadly wound was healed, and all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying,
Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him?
And there was given unto him a mouth, speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast. saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed.
Artificial intelligence is what?
It's just digital intelligence, and as the algorithms and the hardware improve, that digital intelligence will exceed biological intelligence by a substantial margin. It's obvious.
Excuse me, how could AI destroy civilization?
You know, it would be something the same way that humans destroyed the habitat of primates. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be destroyed, but we might be relegated to a small corner of the world. We might be relegated to a small corner of the world. We might be relegated to a small corner of the world.
You're a neuroscience company, and you're working to build basically an interface to the brain. Interface to the brain.
Yeah. Electrode to neuron interface at a micro level.
Okay, what is it? Like, I'm gonna have like a plug in my head that's gonna fit into a hard drive? Like, okay, what is it? Like, I'm gonna have like a plug in my head that's gonna fit into a hard drive? Like, or how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Or how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
Or how does that work?
Yeah. A chip and a bunch of tiny wires.
This would be implanted surgically. This would be implanted surgically. And it would do what? Could you input? Could you download Jim?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. The long-term aspiration for Neuralink would be to achieve a symbiosis with artificial intelligence.
Basically, an effort for man to merge with machine in a healthy way.
Yes.
Basically, an effort for man to merge with machine in a healthy way.
Yes.
Basically, an effort for man to merge with machine in a healthy way.
Yes.
To beat machines, you basically have to merge with machines.
Most likely, yes. Essentially, how do we ensure that the future constitutes the sum of the will of humanity? And so if we have billions of people with the high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves, and so if we have billions of people with the high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves, and so if we have billions of people with the high bandwidth link to the AI extension of themselves, it would actually make everyone hyper smart.
Okay, so
this is very esoteric.
Yeah, no, but you say this is more psi than phi, so you believe we're headed this way.
I believe this can be done.
When will I be?
All right, this is kind of an old video here now. That was actually kind of an old video. I like what's going on in the chat. I wanted to talk about Curious said, so the sun should never set on Mount Everest because it's the highest point on the earth, right? Well, that's where we would have to like apply what we understand about how two things. If the sun is going away from you in the sky, and say it's at a whatever elevation, I'm not trying to guess even, I'm just saying if it's circling above the earth, right? If it's going so far away from you and you're on Mount Everest, what's gonna happen to your view of, basically you have a horizon, and when you're on Mount Everest, let's say, how do I try to describe it the way I understand it? Okay, when the sun is far enough away, it's gonna be past your view. It doesn't have to go. It doesn't have to be lower, or it'll just set at a later time than it would if you were at the bottom of Mount Everest, because the things blocking the sun, it's called ground interference. That's what it is. It's the same as like radar. You can only send it so far from a low point on the ground, and if you go up, you can send it farther and farther, and that's just going in a straight line, right? I'm just saying, like a point to point, you have to have visual, like you can't have things in the way blocking it. Oh, let's see what we got here. We got more comments. Phil, that's a great idea, though I don't really understand how perspective can make the sun appear cut off when there's nothing actually blocking it. Well, the things on the ground are blocking it, because as the sun goes, okay, just remember that anything that's above you that's going away from you, no matter how far away it is or how high it is or how close it is or far, it doesn't matter. It's going to appear, as it goes away, it's going to appear to go down, and it's going to continue to do that. The same way a bowling ball, when you go bowling and you throw the ball down the alley, the ball appears to go upward in your view. It goes upward until it gets to the pins. Something on the ground going away from you will appear to go up. Something above you in the sky or whatever, if someone throws a baseball over you, you know what it looks like. You see it up there, and then as it's going, I mean, you could throw it parallel. You could throw a fastball, and if your head was beneath it, what's it going to look like as it goes away from you? It's going to go down, 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 down. Now, what happens if something's going far enough and it's going to continue to go down, just like a jet? If a jet was flying and you were going to try to film it until it disappeared, something in front of you is going to block that at some point. You could be in a field and the trees might be really far away, so they might not be hardly blocking anything, but eventually that plane, even though it's the same height above the earth, is going to go past those trees. And that's what I'm talking about when I say ground interference. Things on the ground that are going to be, and it works on the water the same way. The waves that are 3/4 of a mile from you are going to block any boat that's 20 miles from you, because the waves that are closer at 3/4 of a mile, their actual size in your view, their angular size is actually much bigger than that boat at 20 miles, because it's that angular size of that boat is so small that you won't see it anymore. But you're above the water. Yes, you're above the water. But 20 miles of being above the water, and the waves close to you are what you're going to see. You're going to see like the tallest water, like the biggest waves over 20 miles, but you're going to see the closer ones because they're going to cover up the ones that are at 17 miles. You're not going to see those ones. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just looking here at the comments. Drop below it? That's a good question. Curious says, and I also don't understand how perspective can make something that appears above the vanishing line, eye level, drop below it. It actually, I don't know. I don't think it does drop below it. I think what actually happens, and it's actually compressed more and more. The image is compressed more and more as you go down towards that whatever we call that line, the horizon or whatever. So there's some images of that. Let me see if I might get lucky on Google Images. Let's see. Whoops. I'm just trying something. And then I actually have another video to try. I want you guys to hear Michelle Thaler talk about something. Let's see here. Yeah, maybe we'll just do that. But I don't see that line to be a physical place. I think it's basically like a circle around you. Like if you were to turn around in a circle, that line would sort of be a huge circle around you, because there's like a limit to that, to the distance that you can see. Now you can see things in the sky really far because they're not being blocked by anything, but that line still exists. Like the clouds, appear to touch the water at the ocean, but we know they're not. And I used to look at that as, oh, that water must be curving over, but I don't see that way at all anymore. Now that I've actually analyzed and gone out with cameras and like really wanted to understand what was happening when I looked at these things. And just going out to do it really helps. But we're talking about straw manning. Let's see here. The sun doesn't go down the side of the world to shine on sideways and upside down people. Yeah, not at all. Yeah. That's that's one of those things that's not experienced. It's only in our minds that we think we experience that. I mean, if you get on a plane, the plane never goes upside down when it gets to Australia. If you call your friend in Australia and you ask them to point up, they're going to point the same direction you point up, right? How would you be able to tell that they were pointing the opposite direction? They're not. That's the whole point. That's only an imaginary thing that we were taught when we were kids. Yeah, Australia's down under. They're pointing upside down when they point up at the sky, those goofballs. No. Well, here's another thing to that. So why is it that you get to be curious? And I'm just joking around. Lighthearted here. Why is it you that always gets to be on the top of the ball? What about me? I'm on top of the ball. If you live on a sphere, everybody's on top of it. This makes no sense. And phrases like face of the earth or these kinds of things are nonsensical if we lived on a sphere. So, consider an accurate... Whoa, I don't even know what that word is. Of the literature. Maybe I'm not... Maybe I'm falling behind, guys. Let's see. Neither of those are actual theories. Strawman. I got behind on it. But yeah, I do like these conversations. They're interesting. Let's see what videos this. It might not be the right one, but I just want to see because I'm terrible at categorizing and labeling my videos.
What are some of the easiest ways that you can prove that the Earth is flat? There are so many proofs that the Earth is flat. It's difficult to know where to start. And it's not okay to think that the Earth is a sphere. This is not...
You guys, this is like a NASA scientist. She works at NASA. Michelle Thaler. Do you hear what she's saying? Just kidding. Now, this is just some of my creative editing, but you got to admit, I'm playing it from the beginning again. You got to admit that this is some tricky editing. It's not easy to get someone to actually make it sound like they're saying that when you're cutting up and keeping the video. Yes, but I think I did pretty good.
What are some of the easiest ways that you can prove that the Earth is flat? There are so many proofs that the Earth is flat. It's difficult to know where to start. And it's not okay to think that the Earth is a sphere. This is not a viable argument. There are proofs all around you. It is not difficult to know that the Earth is flat. In fact, people have known this for way more than 2,000 years. Go out to a lake, flat. And you could make all kinds of measurements. Then there are some other proofs that are a little more obscure, but they're actually really lovely. So people have known that the Earth is flat for thousands of years. It's not okay to say that the Earth curved. And it's something where I keep getting this question. We really need to put this question to bed because we've known the Earth is flat. Flat.
You heard it from her. That was just fun. That was just fun. So I had to do it, and I play it every once in a while because I think that she should have been saying the words that I was saying. This is a new Flat Earth Classic. All right. What is it called on my channel? I have it on my channel, but I'm trying to think of... Oh, hey, curious. I'm curious. Do you think that the Earth is in motion? I'm talking about the part beneath you, the ground, the part we live on. Do you think that's in motion or that it's rotating? Or do you think that that's just an idea that we have about it, that it's rotating? Do we have any evidence for that? I'm saying, have you made an observation that... to me, there's no... It's the observation that all of us make is that it's stationary. Every single one of us. So that's a question I'm curious about. Let's see here. I have another video that I think it might have some of the Michelle Thaler video in it too. Oh wait, this one's called Giant Ball of Lava. Let's watch this. I remember this one. This is Elon Musk describing how Earth is a giant ball of lava, and it's hilarious.
Earth is a giant ball of lava with a thin crust on the top. Thin crust. And it's mostly just a big ball of lava. That's Earth.
Giant ball of lava. Giant ball of lava. Giant ball of lava. Giant ball of lava. With a thin crust.
That's Earth.
That is real science.
And if you talk about symbolism, we got the, nine-headed dragon rocket, run by Elon Musk.
Liftoff. Semper Fi, aim high. Go Falcon, go Dragon.
That's where you have to go to Effed Up World and watch his videos about all the symbolism.
If you look at these flat Earth videos, they have hundreds of thousands of views, and just the thumbs up are just thousands and thousands of thumbs up. Look, I put up a video preaching against flat Earth where I just mentioned it a few minutes in a sermon, 1,000 thumbs down.
Steady state operating levels at 100% thrust on party 180. Vehicle dynamics starting to good zone. 30 seconds mission.
Verse 3, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his heads. And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven. So Satan and his fallen beings inhabit up there in outer space. But remember, the Bible says he's the prince of the power of the air. Now, these satellites, if they're all the way up there at outer space, could the devil have a play in that one? Well, they mention about one time where they launched a thing called Dragon, which is very interesting. That name, Dragon. And Satan is right up there at the stars, and then now people are launching a thing called Dragon, and Elon Musk is launching all these satellites up there.
Splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. Welcome to Space to Ground. I'm Isidro Reyna. SpaceX's Dragon splashed down on March 19th, marking the end to its 10th resupply mission. More than 5,400 pounds of cargo, science, and technology demonstration samples made it back to Earth on Dragon, with the majority bound for laboratories around the globe for analysis.
It's a beast.
So how does it feel to ride in a Dragon on top of the beast named Falcon 9?
Yeah, wow. I tell you, I don't know if there's words really to properly describe what that felt like. You talked about sitting on a dragon on top of the beast, and it definitely was. You knew you were going somewhere, and this one was a little bit longer, so we actually had to live in Dragon for quite a while.
Ride in a Dragon on top of the beast named Falcon 9.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
Sitting on a dragon on top of the beast. Yeah, wow. Sitting on a dragon on top of the beast.
It's a bottomless pit in this abyss of darkness.
I really believe in the space frontier of the abyss, so to speak.
The good abyss. The good abyss.
Or was it some technology like a Vimana or something, where they're trying to break through the dome? There's a YouTube channel called Effed Up World, which I'm kind of getting into. Guy's very religious, and he talks about the Bible where they talk about, wars in the stars and battles in the sky. And if you really look at a couple of those angles, it sure looks like there's some sort of battle going on. The symbolism with the SpaceX and NASA and the ISS, they're doing rituals up there, that match all this prophecy. I don't know what it is. I'm not saying any of that's real. I just find it fascinating.
What are some of the easiest ways that you can prove that the Earth is flat? There are so many proofs that the Earth...
Oh, that's a repeat on there. Hey, Phuket World, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate your videos a lot, and have over the years. So you know how sometimes you make the videos and you get so much, opposition. You're like, what? Should I even be doing this? But you should. So keep going, man. I appreciate it, and a lot of people do. So there you go. Thank you. Let's see here. Okay, so there's this war in heaven I've been talking about. I'm gonna show you a little more footage of that. Or wait, no, remember that? Okay, this is the video I mentioned earlier. Didn't play it yet. The astronauts, a lot of times they themselves tell you with their mouth, their words, that they have a hard time believing that their trip to space was something real. And I'm not saying that. You're going to listen to them say that. So here.
It almost doesn't seem real. You could have convinced me I never went.
I'll tell you, it is still difficult to believe that this is happening.
I came back and my memories were there, but it almost didn't seem real. You could have convinced me I never went.
And believing that it could happen?
That it's hard to grasp it all.
How insignificant really we are as humans.
It almost didn't seem real. I think we tend to live in our bubble of our world that's here.
It's difficult to describe exactly how it just feels different.
So when you look at the Earth from that vantage point, I know others have said this, you don't see the borders. You don't see political borders, you hardly see geographical borders.
We're so used to looking at maps or globes. In low Earth orbit, you don't see a globe. In low Earth orbit, you don't see a globe. In low Earth orbit, you don't see a globe.
The entire experience is actually very surreal. First, you're launched on a rocket. You're pulling G's as you're going out of the atmosphere. You're looking at the Earth for the first time. You're floating. Everything is different, and it just is all just such a different experience that
everything just floats. And sometimes that is really difficult to believe that it could actually be true.
It almost doesn't seem real.
It's so amazing and such an incredible feeling that it's difficult to believe sometimes that it's actually happening.
It almost doesn't seem real. In fact, when I did my space shuttle flight for 2 weeks in 2008, when I got back, you could have convinced me I never went.
Difficult to believe that it could actually be true.
You could have convinced me I never went. This experience is so unusual and so different than anything you've ever done in your life.
I didn't think that it would actually come true.
That it's hard to grasp it all.
Well, I kind of have two moons in my head, I guess, whereas most people just have one moon. I look at the moon just like everybody else who's never been there. There it is, and I've always thought it was interesting. Whether it's full or a sliver or what have you. But every once in a while I do think of the second moon, the one that I recall from up close. And it's kind of hard to believe that I was actually up there.
I want to promise you I'm human. I pinch myself to find out whether it was really happening. I call the moon my home for 3 days of my life, and I'm here to tell you about it. That's science fiction.
My father was born shortly after the Wright brothers. He could barely believe that I went to the moon.
Hard to believe that I was actually up there.
Barely believe.
Science fiction.
Barely believe.
Science fiction.
Barely believe.
Science fiction.
barely believe.
Science fiction.
Hard to believe that I was actually up there.
Science fiction.
Actually up there.
Science fiction.
Because there's no gravity, you're floating. Because there's no gravity, you're floating.
Science fiction.
Because there's no gravity.
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
We didn't go there, and that's the way it happened.
We didn't.
And that's the way it happened. It didn't happen, and that's the way it happened. They'll make sure you go to school.
Continue to just produce imagery of all types. And the more we put out there, the more real it becomes to everyone. And the more we put out there, the more real it becomes to everyone.
And sometimes that is really difficult to believe that it could actually be true. It's difficult to believe that this is happening. It's difficult to believe sometimes that it's actually happening. And sometimes that is really difficult to believe that it could actually be true.
You could have convinced me I never went.
I like what Voynich is saying there. I'll touch on it in just a second here. I want to see what this outro is. Oh man, that was a boring one. I thought I was going to throw something cool in there. Voynich said talking about science is not talking about facts. And I'll give you an example, and I'm sure Voynich will agree with me. Here's a fact. A fact. A very simple fact, but a fact that a lot of people argue with. A lot of people who observe this fact and experience this fact themselves reject this fact. Okay, and the fact is that the ground that your feet are touching right now, or if you're in a chair, that the chair is touching, whatever, you get the point. The ground beneath you is stationary. That's the observation you do make, but you infer that the opposite is actually true, and you believe the inference rather than the actual experience of the actual reality you live in. Because science is just a word, and there's false science, and then there's true science. Let me give you an example of false science. We would look at the horizon at the ocean, and we would take a straight edge, and we would line the two up, and we would be able to see then if there was a curve to it or if it was straight, and we could make observations. And now we could do what we were taught to do, and we could say, well, since we observe it perfectly level, like a straight line level, it must be curved. That's not science, okay? What would happen in science is you'd look at that flat horizon and you'd say, well, so far we know that the ground appears to, or the water level, or the surface of the water appears to not raise or lower in large bodies of water. Obviously there's waves and swell and whatever, but the general surface of the water is always moving around in order to get, that's what waves probably are, to get to that equilibrium, which it probably never reaches almost, but when it would be still is when it would be like glass, and you'd have a mirror reflection or a perfect reflection, which you would only be able to get on something that is perfectly flat, which you observed as flat when you had your straight edge out and you did that observation. That would be this. What science would do is it would say, well, we made an observation, so we know that that's our observation. You would not go against that. You wouldn't say, well, I must be naive and I must be inadequate to observe the world I live in, so it must be the opposite of my observation. Okay, that's what I say about Earth rotating. We don't observe that, and we observe the opposite. Everyone alive right now is observing the Earth still beneath their feet. And if you bring up relativity, all I'm going to say is you are relative. Everything is relative to you, I mean, because otherwise what's going to be experiencing it? If your senses and your body aren't experiencing it, then what is? See, that's why Voynich said that talking about science is it doesn't give us any information. Unless we're just talking about how there's different kinds of science and some just believe a big lie, things they can't prove, or ones you can just go do simple observations and you can, I mean, the margin of error, it's not like it's a fine line, guys. If the Earth was 25,000 miles in circumference or whatever, 24,901. If it is, there would be a physical hump of water or whatever horizon of water at like really close to you, and so it becomes a big okay. So let's just put some numbers to it. If you're standing 6 feet tall above the surface of water, on a sphere that's that size, you would have about 3 miles in front of you would be that where your line of sight was tangent with the surface of the water, because it would be curving away from you. Well, that when I was saying it's not a fine line, it's like the margin of error is massive. The error is massive. Okay, so if you go to a lake that I live about an hour from, let me see if I get a video of it for you here. If you go to this lake, you can just observe it many different ways, because there's boat landings all around this lake. Well, at the widest point, at like the biggest point of the lake, it's like 19.9 miles. It's 20 miles basically. And there's other places where it's 12 miles, and there's landmarks and things, and it gets to be really flat when you start doing actual math. When you look at the size of, like, just simple geometry, you can do it two-dimensional on a piece of paper. Let's see what we got. I don't know where I have it. Oh wait, that's not the right folder. Okay. Here, let's just watch. We'll just look at this video really quick. This lake is called Mille Lacs Lake. It's in Minnesota, and it's a really big lake. And in the winter, it's like becomes a city because they plow roads on it, and people set up fish houses. It's amazing. Let's just watch a little bit of this. Whoa, not that one. Sorry. We'll turn the volume down a little bit. So I'll just explain to you a little bit. Basically, I'm just going to keep scanning across the lake. That shore right there. Okay, see that building? Right there. Whoops, I gotta remove that. Okay, this building right there. That is Grand Casino. And it's about 12 miles from where I'm standing. And I'm about 25 feet above the surface of the water. And notice down on the horizon there, see that house? Yeah, the house is not on the water. That's on the shore. So there's nothing hidden. Nothing at all. And I'm only 25 feet up. So that's like 13 miles to that water tower. Basically, I'm just going to show you this because that's 15 miles to that communication tower. See how the ice and the snow, that'll block some stuff, right? That's what I call ground interference. Oh, here, let me show you a different one. 10 miles. 10 miles isn't very far, but it's also not very close. It's how much drop would be from your line of sight? How much drop would be on a curved earth in 10 miles? The surface would drop down is it 66 feet? Yeah. I think it's about 66 feet. Now, there, see that? There's a casino. And we're 12 miles away, maybe 13. Let me fast forward a little bit here. Or is it just replaying? Oh, it's just replaying that. I'm sorry. Okay. So what I'm saying is that the math that we would do is really showing us that the Earth isn't that size. It's not what 39, 59 in a radius. It's not. If it was, then this horizon that is actually there because of the curvature, that one would be at the same distance all the time if you were on water. It would always be that distance away because the water is going to uniformly curve because of gravity and whatever. So the water wouldn't be like higher here and lower here. It would be equal. So that's why you have like sea level, which is another thing that doesn't make any sense with curvature. Water does not do that, guys. And everybody knows that. If you've ever taken a bath or went swimming, drank water, it doesn't create its own shape. It takes shape of what's around it. It forms to the shape of what. It doesn't make its own shape like I suppose a drip would, one drop would. Right? But let's see this. I lost my program. Where'd it go? Okay, let me show you something. Back to the topic of the battle happening in the sky, because that is probably one of the most important things for us to realize, that there is something happening up there, because it'll put you in a different mindset on like what's important in this world today, and what's important that we understand the truth. And it like, I don't know if this would make anyone change their mind, but it's not something that the world is going to accept because they believe a lie so strongly. But that's why this war in heaven's happening. And remember, behold, he cometh with clouds. That's something every eye will see him, and it's going to be like, I know it's hard to imagine the world, the sky changing. Like, it'll depart. The firmament will roll up like a scroll. And who knows what that's all going to look like, but it's going to be crazy. Now, here's the thing. People say, oh, yeah, people have said that all the time. Well, all throughout time, right? So, has there been a dragon flying up there all throughout time? No. There hasn't. Just since, I don't know, 2013? Something like that, or something to think about. Something to think about. Okay, check this out. You know what? I might have picked the wrong video. I don't know if it has any sound. Well, this is a dragon. Again, a dragon launching. And this is... the reason why it's important is because if you look at what's happening on your screen, that's happening up in a place that I don't even consider that to be the Earth. Neither does NASA. They consider it to be outside of the Earth, or low Earth orbit. It's not in the Earth. It's out of the air where we live, and that's where we live. That's where God created for us. He didn't give us dominion of the sky. That's why in that vision of Daniel, the one that came with the clouds of heaven, Jesus, it was given this. He took the dominion back away from the dragon. So, let's see here. So this video, we'll just watch it while I'm trying to grab another one. I'm looking through some old videos, so sometimes they're fun. Oh, here's one. Oh, man. Let's see here. Oh, maybe this might be a good one. I'm not sure, but this might be a good video right here to when we're curious. We were talking about the sun setting and like if you're on Mount Everest or whatever. Just when we look through a camera, it gives us a view of something, but our eyes don't take that view, and so sometimes it's misleading. And I know you know that. I'm not saying that. I think we all know that when we look at a camera, it's not actually what it looks like, but when we magnify things, it sometimes takes a different, I don't know how to describe it. It's a different look. But speaking of seeing Chicago from the other side of the lake. So I'm going to back up here just so you can see it again. Where we are. There's Chicago, Shed Aquarium, to the, what was that called? Photography Point Peninsula or whatever. 4.21 miles. So from left to right in this picture, it's approximately 5 miles. Doesn't really matter. So what I did was I edited and I kind of made it wider. And I did it again. There's 3 cities there now. But you get the point. What I'm trying to do is zoom out. Because if you zoom out, you got to realize the angular size of this city went from the other side of the lake. It's like the size of a pin. So you have to magnify it. So as you zoom out, we have our 4 miles in the center. There are 5 miles, and then you can keep adding that up. And this is even, we wouldn't even be able to see this with our eyes from the other side of the lake. So what I'm saying is, from left to right, there's many miles that are visible. And it's a perfectly straight line. So I wanted to figure out why videos like this can happen, why people see boats disappearing from the bottom side up. So I set my camera up on a road that is very flat, very long, very straight. And I'm going to show you the footage of me walking about a quarter mile away from my camera and then walking back towards it. First I'm going to show you zooming out from what we're going to be looking at. Picture the Chicago skyline from across the lake being that car. And just watch as we zoom out how small that gets. So remember our 5 miles left to right? How many miles do you think we can actually see of the shoreline left to right with our own eyes as we zoom out? So I'm going to walk away from the camera 8 times faster than I really did. And we will just watch. Notice as I walk away how I'm shrinking and how my head appears to be going downward. Notice the reflection, and then notice the bottom of my feet not really visible. And probably up to my knees almost, or my waist. Okay, now I turned around and I'm coming back. So since it's clear, observable, and undebatable that we do get a straight line left to right, unlike this red line on your screen, images like this or this, or this, or this, or videos like this are not happening because of any kind of curvature. They're happening because the ocean has waves and swell, and there's a lot of water in the air. Water is always level and flat at its surface when contained. That one wasn't too bad, but that is that's like I was trying to basically kind of like describe what happens when you are looking through a camera and then you zoom in. You're not seeing the same thing, but you're zooming in on a strange area of vision, or whatever you want to call it, that horizon line. It's like everything is compressed at that point too, to that horizon. So it's not it's not a physical horizon. And I mean, I think that should be proof enough that the Earth is not a sphere that's 25,000 miles in circumference. It's just not. It would have to either be much, much, much larger. Yeah, it's not. It's kind of like the sun being farther away from you in the winter. You can see it in the sky. It's farther away from you. In the summer, it's right above you. In the winter, it's at 45 degrees. It's far away from you. And it's like you can tell because you can't feel the heat from it nearly as much. Yeah, I just think we've been just trained wrong. Let's go back to Sesame Street, okay? Let's learn about water. Oh, finally! The rain finally stopped. It's a good thing, too, because I want the sun to come out. I'm about to wake Oscar up and show him this picture of water. Yeah, that's right. I want to show him this water and how flat the surface of it is. And it's a good thing because I know that Oscar's not grouchy on Saturdays.
Hey, Oscar! Hey, take a look at this! Oscar! I got something to show you! Oscar! What?
I wanted you to see how flat this water was in this picture.
Hey, Telly, I'm a grouch.
So?
So? I don't like things that are beautiful. I don't like being bothered for no reason at all.
Yeah, but you would like something I just learned about the water. It's flat.
Why should I like to look at the water?
Because
God made water to be level at its surface.
I don't care about stuff like that.
No?
No. There's no reason for a grouch to care about water.
Yes, there is. There's lots of reasons.
Come on. Why should I care about water? Telly, go away.
But this is something God showed us, and it's true. And he wouldn't have showed us unless it was important. And it is important because it's true. And you're believing lies.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. So, listen, who cares?
Well, look, Oscar, I'm only showing you because I care a lot about you.
No, and no.
Oh. So, does that mean you don't want to look at the picture of air I collected? Huh. I'll take that as a no.
NASA astronauts Kate Rubins and Jeff Williams now in the cupola workstation of the International Space Station, operating, preparing for moving the arm into its capture position to grapple the SpaceX cargo vehicle, now sitting at 11.2 meters away.
Yeah, they probably should have locked the cupola that time, huh? I busted right in there. Stole their guitar and their gorilla suit. Okay, so I gotta go to bed. I don't even know what I'm doing. I do, but I don't. So I just wanted to look at this video. Speaking of what an orbit looked like in, you like that, Voynich? A picture of air, indeed. I called this video EVA, okay? I don't know if this is the one I'm thinking it is. If it's not, I don't know. But I noticed that on their Gemini time lapse or whatever, it was the first spacewalk ever. I looked into it a little bit, and yeah, the orbit, the idea of low Earth orbit, it was different then than it is now, and the video explains it. So here, let's check this out. Okay, so it's not the video I was thinking about. Let me try one more. I think there was one right next to it that might be the right one. No, that's only 13 seconds. Well, maybe I can play this. This might just be a quick time. No, that's not the right one. Okay, so basically, I'll play this, but I'm gonna turn the music down and just play it because I think it's just music. But I want you to pay attention to the Earth beneath them and the direction that they're going. And you tell me if they're going in a straight trajectory or if they're going in a circle. You decide. They were not in low Earth orbit here. Because look at the Earth beneath them. Now see that body of water or whatever? Look at they're going around it. They're doing a circle above the Earth. And it's plain to see. Watch the Earth. They're doing a circle. An orbit would be a straight trajectory, not turning. So what is the difference? I'm not saying I have this answer. I'm asking you. Let me grab a video. What is the difference between 1964 that's on your screen now and the ISS footage that we get today? What changed? I'll show you that in a second. My computer's being a little slow. Where are you? Cruising. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you see this. This is certainly not a straight trajectory in 1964. Here's whatever this would be like 2010 right here. Do you see the difference? Now, obviously, this isn't sped up as much, but this just goes in a straight line. Something changed. See, in Gemini, they were still learning about all of that. So I just think something is not quite understood that's happening. Oh, wait a minute. I think I've got it. I think I've got it, but I don't remember what it's called. You're going to like this. Where is it? I think it's in this folder. I just thought of it for some reason. Where is it? Oh, I don't know if it's in here. Wow, I've made a lot of videos, you guys. I'm just looking at through. Oh, here it is. Here we go. I think this is what's going on. This is about how far NASA's knowledge has reached.
Faster!
Faster! Faster!
Just let go and jump, lads.
I'm getting dizzy. I'm gonna hurl. Wow, go NASA. You guys are great. So what they're saying is that an orbit, right? If this was the Earth rotating, the orbit would be, low Earth orbit would be just outside of their cage there. And the gravity at the center of their cage would be zeroed out by that outward, which is not even an acceleration. It's like just going in a circle. It's not, there's nothing pulling you. You're just trying to go in a straight line, but the railing on that thing is keeping them from going in that straight line, right? So that just like when you turn in your car, you go down the highway and you're going onto an entrance ramp and you do that whole big circle, and your shoulder pushes up against the door of the car. So they're saying that that's it. That's what low Earth orbit is they're just falling around that sweet line. Oh, sure, it makes sense, I guess, but it really doesn't. Faster!
Like so nothing comes out of that, man.
Faster!
Faster! Okay. Now I just keep thinking of old videos that I've made. Here's another video of the ISS in orbit. Okay, you tell me if does this look anything like what's going on in Gemini? Do you see the Earth? Does it look like they're going in a circle there? No. So what were they doing on Gemini? I think they were just figuring it out. So then they say, oh yeah, physics, yeah. Yeah, because you based your physics off of what you understand, what you've experienced. Like, okay, the first time, okay, here's an example. When a meteor comes in and the sound of it creates a sonic boom, and it's like, boom, okay? I've heard one myself. But when that happens, before space travel, space exploration, they didn't know what was happening. Or no, wait, I'm sorry, not space exploration. Until we broke the sound barrier with the jet. Okay, they didn't know really what was happening, but then all of a sudden, they got faster than the speed of the sound that they were making, and so now, I mean, if I show you a video of a rocket breaking through the firmament or whatever you want to call it, and making ripples go out, people say, "Oh, that's just a shockwave. That's nothing," and I'm like, you're not thinking if you say that. If you think that something going faster than the speed of sound isn't a limitation of this physical reality, it's beyond the rules of nature. I'm not saying you can't go beyond them. I'm saying that the sound in every medium has a certain speed that it travels. So if something in that medium, like a meteor, comes in faster than that sound, it creates a pressure wave and it makes a sonic boom for the things beneath it. And it's like a real loud, violent boom. It sounds like an explosion. That isn't part of, I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. It does happen. But that's not part of physics. What happened is physics built their understanding of it by what happens. Do you get what I'm saying? They didn't tell you about a pressure wave and a vapor cone. They didn't tell you about that. They didn't know about that until they did it. Okay? If science was so cool and physics was so accurate or whatever and so reliable, then they would have already talked about a vapor cone from meteors. They would have told you about what was happening when a meteor came in, but nobody knew. They didn't know until we basically repeated it or what do you call that, demonstrated it. And now, because of our technology and our jets and stuff, it's just routine. They do this all the time. They go faster than the speed of sound, and we see that. I mean, you've seen pictures of it. You've heard it. You've watched videos of it. Everyone has. Every time the shuttle would come in 135 times or whatever it went up there. Every single time it came back in, 3 sonic booms and half of Florida hears it, okay? It's on the news. It's all over the place. Sonic booms. Actually, that's a good one. I have a video I'm going to play. And then I'm probably gonna let this video play and then probably end this stream pretty soon because I'm just kind of hanging out. I should be getting rest and all that, but I'm having fun. Okay. Air, sound, and speed. And remember that we're talking about a war in heaven, and we're talking about the atmosphere. We're talking about the 4 angels holding the winds from hurting the earth and stuff. We're talking about the air. I saw the treasuries of all the winds. I saw how he had furnished with them the whole creation, and the firm foundations of the earth. I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the 4 winds, which bear the earth and the firmament of the heaven. And I saw how the winds stretch out the vaults of heaven, and have their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven. I saw the winds of heaven which turn and bring the circumference of the sun and all the stars to their setting. I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the path of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above. For on the first day he created the heavens which are above, and the earth, and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, the angels of the presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the angels of the spirit of the winds, and the angels of the spirit of the clouds, and of darkness, and of snow, and of hail, and of hoarfrost, and the angels of the voices, and of the thunder, and of the lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold, and of heat, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and of all the spirits of his creatures, which are in the heavens and on the earth. He created the abysses, and the darkness, eventide and night, and the light, dawn and day, which he hath prepared in the knowledge of his heart. According to many scriptures, there are angels of the winds, and they have certain things that they do. Just like the angels of the rain and the clouds, they govern the rain that falls on the earth. Whether you believe in angels or not, it's at least something to think about when we're talking about the winds, because of sound, the speed of sound, how if you go faster than sound can move through the air, a phenomenon happens that is only known about by doing this. A sonic boom is something that happens beneath the area where something is going supersonic. And when the shuttle, or in this day and age, Falcon 9 rockets come back into the Earth's atmosphere from being outside the Earth's atmosphere, there's a sonic boom. And the four winds are held by four angels, and this has something to do with the destruction mentioned in the book of Revelation. And after these things I saw four angels standing on the four corners of the earth, holding the four winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the four angels, to whom it was given to hurt the earth and the sea, saying, Hurt not the earth, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads.
All right, made it back. All right.
Holy mother.
Twin sonic booms heralding Atlantis' arrival at the Florida spaceport.
I don't know why it's skipping like that. I'll give it a second here. I don't let my computer catch up or something. So what these are home videos or whatever of sonic booms from the shuttle over the years. And the animals reacting to them and people laughing and whatever. But the point that I'm trying to make here is that when something re-enters the Earth's atmosphere and creates that sonic boom like the shuttle or the Falcon 9 or whatever, it sounds exactly the same as when a meteor does that same thing.
Don't like that, huh? What's that? Cool. Space shuttle.
Oh, it's skipping. I don't know why. I'll have to give it a minute here, I guess. Let me just skip forward in the videos. I know you guys get it. So, hast thou with him spread out the sky, which is strong as a molten looking glass? Now, the reason why I think that it would say that is because I think that it's strong. An example would be what happened to the shuttle that burned up on re-entry. Why did it burn up? Because it's hitting something like a brick wall, but it's not made of bricks. It's made of air. It's made of the four winds. And that's what Enoch 18 at the very beginning of this video was describing. He said that the four winds hold up. They support the earth and the firmament. So the pillars that the earth is set upon is air. But and Curious, I appreciate your I know you're back and forth with all the other chat people, and I noticed that you've been very appropriate in your comments and not rude and not I don't even read all the comments. I can't, but what I'm saying is that I pay attention to the chat sometimes, and I would say that your comments are very appropriate. Excuse me. And so yeah, obviously when people disagree, it's hard to disagree with and be polite when someone's not understanding what you're trying to, especially when you're in chat too. That makes it even more difficult. I'm here with a microphone, so I can just express myself with words. Hey, Iger, good to see you. You haven't heard of Sonic Boom in a long time. They probably faked the shuttle Sonic Boom with. No, there's no they. That's the thing that I'm just sharing with you, Iger, my understanding here. When Paul was writing to the Ephesians, and he wrote that we're not struggling against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and the rulers of the darkness of this world. That darkness, that would be the night sky, where there's angels under chains of darkness, outer darkness, where there'll be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So those spirits are they dwell in heaven. Those are the ones that we're battling against, and then their offspring. Their offspring are here without bodies, as unclean spirits or whatever. So what I would say is, there's nobody at NASA faking anything. Now that might be something. I know a lot of people will never agree with me on that. A lot of people won't, and I'm not asking anyone to. I'm just saying that that's what I believe. I don't think that there's anyone at NASA that knows anything you don't know. There's a bunch of people at NASA that believe something you don't believe, though. I hope that kind of gives you my understanding on that. We've been shown the truth from heavenly places. So if you consider that, who else knows it? Why are we exposing these things that they're doing to be wicked? Well, I think it's important that we understand it the right way. If we just accuse people at NASA of faking something, it's going to be hard for anyone to understand it if they aren't faking something, right? So that's that. I don't think there's a way to fake a sonic boom, and they happen all the time. Where do you live in Florida? Because if you're anywhere by the Cape, you'll be hearing them. I mean, they don't do it all the time, but probably once or twice a month they'll land one right at Cape Canaveral. So like if you're in Melbourne or anywhere around there, I don't know the area very well, but I don't know how many miles you'd hear it. Maybe, I don't really know, but if you watch in this video, some of these people are quite a distance away. Almost far enough where they aren't able to even see it, like with a camera. Let's see here. I'm gonna see if this video will play. Here's just some more people experiencing that. Okay, now I think we got the Falcon 9 here. Oh, that's just going. Oh, these are more. Okay, here, watch this. This is some crazy footage. Okay, here we go. Videos taken of rockets launching. We can tell that they are moving faster than the speed of sound very shortly after the launch, and they keep going. You would only assume that they accelerate through that whole time that you can see them. And the sonic booms. We know of something that has been experienced probably all throughout time, and it's something called a meteor, or that's what we call it anyway. And that's where something comes into the atmosphere from outside of our world, and it very much makes the same sound as one of these rockets re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. Let's compare the two. We actually see the same thing happening. We see visually the meteor come in, or the rocket come in, and both of them are moving faster than the sound can move through the air. So that's why we hear a sonic boom. And they're re-entering from outside of the Earth into the Earth, and they're going very fast. The only difference is the rockets have engines to arrest the velocity. So just like with the meteor, there is a sonic boom because it's moving faster than the sound can get to the ground. And sonic booms can be destructive.
Another series of booms hit, and at that point we seen the glass shatter out of the back of her truck.
Sonic booms causing destruction. The loud noises could be heard from Port Charlotte to Sanibel Island yesterday. They caused a lot of confusion about exactly what was going on, and as you can see, they also left behind some damage. 4 in Your Corner's Malcolm Johnson speaking with one man who's now looking at paying for a new rearview window after it shattered from the sound.
That's right, Amy. It's not every day that you hear about a sonic boom. So just to refresh everyone's memory, it's caused when planes surpass the speed of sound, causing a boom that can be felt down here on land. Today, I met a man who wants to know, now that the rear view of his truck is blown out, who's going to pay for it? If you've heard the loud booms over the last few days in Southwest Florida, you're not the only one wondering what it is.
Maybe it was a gunshot?
Nope, not a gunshot, but a sonic boom. The Key West Naval Air Station tells me by phone it's caused by jets flying overhead training on their way to the Gulf of Mexico.
Never seen anything like this from a sonic boom.
So after we have talked about this, let me read Enoch chapter 57 to you. And it came to pass after this that I saw another host of wagons and men riding thereon, and coming on the winds from the east and from the west to the south. And the noise of their wagons was heard. And when this turmoil took place, the holy ones from heaven remarked it. And the pillars of the earth were moved from their place. And the sound thereof was heard from one end of heaven to the other in one day. So Enoch saw some men riding on wagons on the winds, and it was the noise from their wagons that and turmoil that moved the pillars of the earth out of their place. And the sound was heard from one end of heaven to the other in one day. And in Enoch chapter 60, it says this, in the year 500, in the 7th month, on the 14th day of the month, in the life of Enoch, in that parable I saw how a mighty quaking made the heaven of heavens to quake, and the host of the Most High and the angels, 1,000 thousands and 10,000 times 10,000, were disquieted with a great disquiet. And the head of days sat on the throne of his glory, and the angels and the righteous stood around him. And a great trembling seized me, and fear took hold of me, and my loins gave way, and dissolved were my reins, and I fell upon my face. And Michael sent another angel from among the holy ones, and he raised me up. And when he had raised me up, my spirit returned. For I had not been able to endure the look of this host, and the commotion, and the quaking of the heaven. In that book of Revelation, at the end of the world, Satan deceived the whole world. And one of the great signs and wonders that he did was make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceive the world by doing that. Don't be deceived. Some trust in chariots, and some in horses, but we will remember the name of the Lord our God. They are brought down and fallen, but we are risen and stand upright. Save, Lord, let the King hear us when we call. Alright, I have one more video that's related to that last one. This one's called Firmament Breach. And then I'm gonna send you along your merry way, either to a new day or a late night, whatever you decide.
But the thing that's really important to revolutionize space is a rapidly reusable rocket. That's reliable too. So that's really what needs to happen. If that can be done, then the cost of access to orbit and beyond can be reduced by potentially a factor of 100 or more. So that's really what is most important about. It's got to be done by somebody's got to do this. And if you have rapid and complete reusability, then that opens up. That is the gateway to the heavens.
1, 0. Ignition. And liftoff. Vehicle is pitching downrange. Vehicle has reached maximum aerodynamic pressure.
We just passed through max Q.
All right, that's about enough of that. Whatever we're watching, crazy stuff going through the sky. Voynich, let me correct you. You said not a very enjoyable conversationer. I think the proper term is conversationalist. Conversationalist. I think that's the. I'm just kidding, just joking around. So anyway, all I was gonna say is I'm gonna head out. And thank you guys for hanging out. This ended up being a 3 hour and 40, by the time we're done, 47-minute stream. Not too bad. And do me a favor and share either the video or my channel or something. Share the information. Or at least for people to consider. Because these are the kinds of things that I don't think anybody knows these things. We don't, like, that's why we're having, that's why we're learning about them. We're learning more and more about them. So I think it is a very important thing, though, that we do consider, even if you don't believe flat earth or whatever, that you do consider that there are people everywhere in the world that do believe it. And they didn't 10 years ago. So that's something to think about. I don't know exactly what it is. I mean, I believe I know what it is, but that's me. I believe what I believe. You believe what you believe. So if I can say something to convince you of to look at something a different way, it doesn't mean that you have to give up all your beliefs or something. It just means consider this. That's all it means. Consider it, because when I did, it changed my life. So thank you guys for hanging out, and I appreciate all the back and forth in the chat. It's kind of proof that people can disagree and still be civil, even with some slight abrasive comments. But I don't think that that's unhealthy. I think it's all right. So thank you, and nice to meet you, Curious. And you guys all have a good night, and we'll see you next time I go on live. Thank you, Voynich. I saw that right there. Always hearing your take on it. And the video worked just as well. All right, cool. And I think that's one of the things. It's like the reasons why I put videos out here is because I feel like there's something that I've learned that I want other people to. I'm better off the way that I am now than I was before, just by looking at things differently, understanding the world I live in differently. It's changed everything about my life. And so really all I'm doing is I want people to experience that. So, I hope you do. So, share it out and whatever, subscribe, and like the video. If you liked it. Only if you liked it. I wouldn't want you to click the like button if you didn't like it. And I also don't click the like button twice if you liked it, because that actually just unlike it. I'm just teasing. Okay, you guys have a good one. And thanks for hanging out. Much love.